Yo, Atlas speaking and welcome to part 5 of What If I Was Reborn in My Hero with the Sand Fruit. Let the tale begin. Chapter 81, Bakugo's Long-Awaited Battle. Lita struggled to maintain his composure as he tried to manage the chaos brewing in Class 1A. Between explaining the situation to the other classes and attempting to reason with Akira, the day was quickly spiraling out of his control. However, Akira dismissed the commotion with a casual wave and left the classroom, citing an urgent matter. His destination? The training grounds, where All Might had asked them to gather after school. By the time Akira arrived, All Might was already waiting, his towering frame casting a long shadow across the open space. "You're early," All Might remarked. "Where are the others?" "I expected them with you." Akira shrugged. "They're on their way. Should be here soon." "Good," All Might nodded before producing 2 documents and handing one each to Akira and Bakugo. "While we wait, take a look at these and ask if you have any questions." Curious, Akira unfolded the paper. His gaze immediately landed on the bold header, Exchange Student Application. His brow furrowed as he read further. "Exchange students?" Bakugo echoed, his expression mirroring Akira's confusion. "That's right," All Might confirmed. "The school has arranged for a select few of you to attend Brave Academy in country. As exchange students." "What?" Bakugo exclaimed, his voice rising in disbelief. Before Akira could respond, Midoriya and the rest of the group arrived, their expressions a mix of confusion and curiosity. All Might handed each of them a copy of the document. "All Might, what's going on? Why are we suddenly being sent overseas?" Midoriya asked, clearly overwhelmed. "This is so sudden," Todoroki added, scanning the paper. "Listen up, everyone." All Might raised a hand, silencing the group. "The principal has been working tirelessly to secure this opportunity for you. Brave Academy is renowned worldwide for its ability to cultivate exceptional heroes. Their program is rigorous, more challenging than anything you've faced here at UA, but the rewards are immeasurable." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in before continuing. "However, it won't be easy. The training there is like walking through fire. Only those who persevere will emerge stronger." The group exchanged uneasy glances. "How long will we be there?" Akira asked. "The exchange program lasts between 3 months and a year. You'll return to UA once a month for evaluations and updates," All Might explained. "A year?" Bakugo muttered, his jaw tightening. "That's enough time to transform into a completely different person," Akira mused aloud, intrigued by the possibilities. "Exactly," All Might said. "But before you think about Brave Academy, your immediate focus should remain on the upcoming sports festival. After that, you'll have time to decide." Everyone nodded, though their expressions remained conflicted. "Now, let's get to today's lesson," All Might said, clapping his hands together. "We'll be testing your limits." "Testing our limits?" Bakugo's eyes lit up with excitement, his competitive spirit igniting. "What kind of test?" Todoroki asked, his usual calm demeanor showing a flicker of interest. All Might smiled. "Among the 5 of you, Akira has proven to be the strongest, so he'll act as your sparring partner. 2 of you will train with him at a time, while I'll personally oversee the other 2. "Wait, does that mean Akira gets to spar with everyone?" Midoriya asked, looking between All Might and Akira. "Exactly," All Might confirmed. "This will give you all a chance to gauge your growth and identify areas to improve. But don't push too hard. I don't want anyone too injured to attend class tomorrow." "I'm ready." Bakugo stepped forward without hesitation, sparks already flickering in his palms. "Same here," Todoroki said, his expression firm. It was clear they both had the same goal, to measure themselves against Akira. "Looks like I'm up first," Akira said, rolling his shoulders. "Let's see what you 2 are capable of." All Might nodded approvingly. "Good." Bakugo, Todoroki, you'll be with Akira. Midoriya, Tokoyami, you're with me. Let's get started. As the group split up, All Might turned to Akira and added, remember, don't go overboard. We're aiming to push limits, not break them. Akira smirked. I've got it under control. Don't hold back, Akira. Bakugo growled, his palms crackling as the familiar scent of burnt air filled the space. I've been waiting for this fight. Todoroki stepped up beside him, his left side radiating frost while his right shimmered with heat. Let's see how far apart we really are. Akira's smile widened as he stretched his arms. Then don't disappoint me. Show me everything you've got. The tension in the air thickened as the three faced off, each of them brimming with anticipation. And so, the first spar of the day began. Chapter 82, Durian Cannon Explosion. Since this battle was to test Bakugo's limits, Akira had no intention of using his full power or elemental abilities. This wasn't a fight for survival but a sparring match, and Akira had to be mindful of controlling his strength. A single careless move could lead to severe consequences, something he wanted to avoid. The thought left him frowning, a slight headache forming. He never liked holding back, but it was necessary in this scenario. Are you ready? I'm coming. Bakugo's voice cut through Akira's thoughts, laced with the same brash confidence as always. Just come at me, Akira replied calmly, positioning himself without moving much. With a loud yell, Bakugo charged forward, his speed significantly faster than before, evidence of his rigorous training. Jumping high into the air, black smoke crackled from his palms. Big bang explosion! Bakugo roared, clapping his hands together as a concentrated burst of golden energy exploded toward Akira. Unfazed, Akira casually raised his right hand. In response, the ground surged upward, forming a dense wall of sand. The explosion hit the barrier head-on, scattering sand and smoke into the air with a deafening boom. As the smoke cleared, Bakugo suddenly reappeared behind Akira, aiming a kick at his back. Akira caught his foot with ease, his hand like a vice grip. Without hesitation, Akira swung Bakugo around and slammed him into the ground with a resounding thud. The force cracked the ground beneath Bakugo and knocked the wind out of him. Pfft. Bakugo spat, coughing as he quickly scrambled to his feet, wary of a follow-up attack. You're getting sloppy, Akira remarked, his tone calm but slightly mocking. Bakugo grinned through the pain, sparks already forming in his hands. Shut up. You're gonna eat those words. In an instant, rows of sand spikes shot toward Bakugo. Reacting quickly, he blasted them apart with a series of rapid explosions, each blast sending black smoke and sand flying. T've been wanting to teach you a lesson for a while, Bakugo, Akira said, his voice carrying a sharp edge. Is that so? Good! Because I've been dying to take you down. Bakugo yelled, his grin feral. Before Bakugo could fully recover, Akira closed the distance in the blink of an eye. His speed was so overwhelming that Bakugo's eyes widened in shock, unable to react in time. Akira's kick landed squarely on Bakugo's side, sending him flying across the training ground. Bakugo tumbled along the ground, only stopping when he collided with a large rock. Dust and debris billowed around him as he coughed and groaned. Ah! Bakugo roared as he blasted himself back to his feet, his palms crackling with energy. Charging forward, he unleashed a relentless flurry of explosions, each one aimed directly at Akira. However, none of his attacks hit. Akira effortlessly weaved through the onslaught, his movements fluid and calculated. Beads of sweat began forming on Bakugo's forehead as frustration mounted. You've got power, Bakugo, but your physical combat skills are too weak, Akira commented, his voice calm but firm. Without warning, Akira's right hand, now coated in a dark sheen of armament hockey, struck Bakugo squarely in the stomach. The impact sent Bakugo flying backward once again, skidding across the ground before slamming into another obstacle. Pfft. Bakugo spat out blood as he struggled to his feet, his body trembling. The gap in strength between them was undeniable, but his pride refused to let him quit. He glanced at Todoroki, who was watching the fight with a composed expression. The sight only fueled his determination. That guy's strength, it's probably around the same as mine, Bakugo muttered, clenching his fists. His attention shifted back to Akira. If I can't win with brute force, then I'll use that move, asterisk. Bakugo charged at Akira once more, this time leaping into the air. Sparks began swirling in his palms, forming a rapidly growing vortex of energy. Durian Cannon, Big Bangle, Bakugo roared, unleashing a massive, concentrated explosion aimed directly at Akira. The ground shook violently as the attack surged forward, engulfing everything in its path with a blinding light and deafening roar. Akira, standing his ground, watched the attack with mild interest. Not bad, Akira muttered, raising his hand as the sand around him began to swirl protectively. The impact was imminent. Chapter 83, The Collision of Sand and Ice. At this moment, on either side of Akira, a pair of massive sand hands suddenly erupted from the ground. Their speed was astonishing, and in the blink of an eye, the sand hands swatted Bakugo like an insect. With a loud bang, a large hole exploded in the palm of one sand hand, and thick black smoke poured out from the impact. As the smoke cleared, Bakugo's figure slowly emerged, battered but unyielding. His sports uniform was in tatters, and blood trickled from the wounds on his arms and face, mixing with the dirt smeared across his skin. Damn it! Even with my current strength, I can't even scratch you. Bakugo growled, frustration dripping from his voice. Use every move you have, Akira said calmly, his gaze steady as he raised his head toward Bakugo, who stood atop the sand hand. Bakugo gritted his teeth, his fists trembling as he clenched them. Don't get me wrong, Bakugo, Akira continued. I don't mean to look down on you. We've walked different paths, faced different struggles. That's what shaped us. Bakugo took a deep breath. I know, he replied through clenched teeth, his voice quieter but resolute. Good, Akira nodded. If you understand that, then it's fine. But honestly, I suggest you stop for now. Fighting further won't do much good. Your quirk development still needs work, and your physical skills have room for improvement. But don't worry too much about it. All Might said we'll head to Brave Academy after the sports festival. That place might just help you unleash your potential. Bakugo exhaled sharply, his shoulders loosening slightly. Fine. I already know the gap between us. No need to drag this out. He leapt down from the sand hand and landed heavily on the ground. Akira nodded approvingly, then turned his gaze to Todoroki, who stood quietly nearby. Your turn. Todoroki stepped forward, his expression stoic as ever. Don't hold back, Akira told him. Use your quirk to its fullest. Don't worry about hurting me. Todoroki gave a small nod. Understood, he replied. Good. Then come at me. Without hesitation, Todoroki raised his foot and stomped the ground. A wave of frost spread out, freezing the ground in an instant. From the ice, a series of jagged spikes shot up, each larger than the last, aimed directly at Akira. Shoto Todoroki, Akira muttered, watching the icy onslaught. A composite quirk of fire and ice, powerful, versatile, and dangerous. In response, Akira stomped the ground as well, and the earth loosened beneath him. A massive wave of sand rose like a tsunami, meeting the ice spikes head-on. The impact was deafening, a resounding boom that shook the entire training ground. On the far side of the field, Midoriya staggered to his feet after taking another one-for-all backlash. He had barely recovered when the ground trembled beneath him. What's happening? Midoriya stammered, his eyes wide as he turned toward the commotion. Sand and ice clashed violently, sending debris flying everywhere. Sand and ice. Tokoemi muttered, his dark eyes narrowing. It's Todoroki and Kitagawa, All Might said, his tone calm but tinged with awe. What an incredible clash, Tokoemi murmured. Yeah. Akira's quirk and Todoroki's are both incredibly strong, Midoriya added, envy creeping into his voice. Todoroki might be the second strongest among us, Tokoemi speculated. Second? Midoriya frowned. All Might chuckled. Bakugo isn't weak either. If you compare him to Todoroki, it's probably a 50-50 match. But regardless, Akira stands far above them both, asterisk. The mention of Akira's name sent a shiver through Midoriya. He thought back to when they first met at the beach a year ago. Back then, Akira had been skilled but far from the powerhouse he was now. Yeah, it's unbelievable how much he's grown, Midoriya muttered. All Might nodded, his expression thoughtful. Indeed. Back then, his physical skills were decent at best. Now, he's unrecognizable, asterisk. Let's rest for now and watch the battle, All Might suggested. Midoriya and the others nodded, their attention locked on the ongoing fight. On the battlefield, sand and ice continued to collide in a spectacular display of power. The clashing elements sent chunks of ice and waves of sand scattering across the ground. Despite the intensity of the battle, Akira's breathing remained steady, while Todoroki's breaths grew labored. What was worse for Todoroki was the thin layer of water forming on the icy half of his body, a sign of overexertion. Chapter 84, Sports Festival Opening. Shoto Todoroki's quirk, a powerful combination of ice and fire, came with its own limitations. The right side of his body could unleash devastating cold, capable of freezing an entire building in seconds. On the left, flames raged with a force that could incapacitate a large number of enemies in one strike. However, his power wasn't without drawbacks. Overuse of either side could result in frostbite or burns. What held Shoto back even more than his limitations was the emotional burden tied to his flames. His father, Endeavor, had molded him to surpass All Might, treating his mother as nothing more than a tool for breeding powerful offspring. The emotional scars of his mother's breakdown and the scalding water she poured on his face left Shoto rejecting the flames that represented his father's ambitions. As the battle continued, sand and ice clashed violently, filling the air with fragments of their respective elements. The ground trembled under the force of their collision, yet the outcome was becoming clear. Shoto's breathing grew heavier, his right side encased in an increasingly thick layer of frost. He knew he was reaching his limit. Deciding to pull back, Shoto darted to the side, narrowly avoiding another sand wave that crashed where he had just been standing. You're stopping already? Akira called out, pausing his assault. His gaze locked onto Shoto, observing the frost creeping over his opponent's body. You're only using half your power, Akira said with a frown. Do you really think you can surpass your limits like this? Shoto remained silent, his gaze flickering with doubt. I don't care about your reasons for holding back, but this fight is meant to test your limits. Do you even know what that means? Akira's voice carried an edge of frustration. Shoto flinched, the words cutting deeper than he expected. You're you, and your father is your father. Are you living your life just to defy him? Akira pressed. Those words struck a chord. Shoto clenched his fists, memories of his mother and father flashing through his mind. As your team leader, I order you, stop holding back and attack me with everything you've got, Akira demanded, his voice firm. After a moment of hesitation, Shoto gritted his teeth, understood. Raising his left hand, flames erupted, engulfing him in a blaze. The frost on his right side melted away, and his body returned to balance. With a roar, Shoto unleashed a fireball toward Akira, the heat distorting the air around it. Akira spread the sand wings on his back, lifting into the air effortlessly. With a powerful flap, the flames were redirected back toward Shoto. Shoto dodged swiftly, but Akira appeared in front of him in an instant, a dark fist coated in armament hockey driving toward him. Shoto raised an ice wall, but Akira's punch shattered it like glass. The blow connected with Shoto's torso, sending him stumbling back, yet he managed to stay on his feet, his breathing heavy but his resolve firm. "Not bad," Akira said with a grin. "You've worked on your physical conditioning." Shoto nodded. "While developing my quirk, I focused on my physical fitness too." "Good," Akira replied, his fists once again coated in hockey. In the blink of an eye, he closed the distance, delivering a flurry of punches to Shoto's abdomen. The impact was too much. Shoto coughed violently, spitting out saliva as he was launched backward. He hit the ground with a heavy thud and didn't rise. Akira approached quickly, concern flickering in his eyes. "You okay?" "Sorry, I might have hit you harder than I intended." Shoto winced but managed a faint smirk. "I'm not dead." "Want to keep going?" Akira asked. Shoto shook his head. "No. I've learned my limits." "Good. That's what this was about," Akira replied calmly. With Shoto and Bakugo both out, the training for the day was over. Meanwhile, All Might and the others Midoriya, Tokoyami, and the rest of Class 1A watched from the sidelines, awestruck by the sheer intensity of the battles. "All Might, is this what the top of the class looks like?" Midoriya asked, still lying on the ground. All Might nodded, his expression contemplative. "Indeed. But Kitagawa is in a league of his own. His rapid growth over the past year is remarkable." The group turned their attention back to the training ground, where Akira stood with his hands on his hips, looking over the battered field. Over the next 2 weeks, All Might organized intensive training sessions for Akira, Bakugo, Shoto, and the others, pushing them to refine their skills for the upcoming sports festival. Though grueling, each of them grew stronger with every session. And so, as the days passed, the opening day of the UA Sports Festival arrived. The arena buzzed with anticipation, a stage set for heroes in training to showcase their strength to the world. Chapter 85, Let's Set a New Record. UA High School was bustling with activity. Crowds of reporters swarmed the entrance, while colorful stalls lined the pathways inside. Above, vibrant fireworks exploded, painting the sky with streaks of light and color. "The security checks are so tedious this year," a female reporter grumbled as she observed the long queue of people undergoing thorough inspections. The cameraman behind her adjusted his equipment and offered a resigned smile. "Well, it's understandable. The school was just attacked by villains not long ago. Plus, there's been a lot of criticism over holding the sports festival so soon after the incident." The reporter's frown gave way to a sly smile. "Controversy? That just means higher ratings. And this year's highlight is clearly Class 1A of the Hero Department." Her enthusiasm left the cameraman chuckling awkwardly as they moved on to find a better angle for their story. Nearby, MT Lady stood eagerly in front of a takoyaki stall, her eyes locked on the sizzling treat being prepared on the grill. Her partner, Kamui Woods, stood behind her, looking mildly exasperated. "1 takoyaki, please." "No green seaweed," MT Lady requested, her voice dripping with anticipation as she wiped her mouth. The stall owner's eyes lit up when he realized who she was. "Wait a minute, are you the MT Lady?" Instead of acknowledging the recognition, MT Lady focused on the takoyaki. "Just 1 serving. Quickly, please." The owner handed her the takoyaki, his enthusiasm dampened only slightly by her dismissal. "That'll be 500 yen. MT Lady's expression turned sheepish, and she adopted a pleading tone. "Oh, I don't have any cash on me." The stall owner blushed furiously. No problem at all. It's on the house. Her demeanor shifted instantly as she snatched the food. Thanks a bunch. Kamui Wood sighed in disbelief. Seriously, don't you have any self-respect? Relax, MT Lady replied between bites. By the way, I heard UA invited pro heroes from across the country this year. Kamui Woods nodded. They want us to scout talent, but since we're on security duty, we won't have much time for that. MT Lady groaned. Boring! Let's hope there's at least one standout in Class 1A this year. Endeavor's son is in Class 1A. Between him and the rest, I think this year will be one for the books. Meanwhile, in the Class 1A lounge, Aizawa burst through the door, his usual tired expression replaced with one of irritation. Where are those 5 troublemakers, Akira and the others? He demanded, his voice laced with urgency. Lita immediately stood up, his movements precise as always. Sensei, we've been meaning to ask you. We haven't seen them. For 3 days, asterisk. Aizawa sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Those idiots must think the sports festival is tomorrow. What a waste of time. Momo tilted her head in confusion. What are they doing, Sensei? After a moment of silence, Aizawa finally answered. They're preparing. After the sports festival, they're heading straight to the Brave Academy in the U.S. as exchange students. The room erupted in disbelief. Exchange students? What? The Brave Academy? Never heard of it. Before the class could fully digest the information, Aizawa waved them off. Now's not the time for discussion. We need to find those 5 immediately. As he turned to leave, he was met by All Might, who walked toward the lounge with Akira and the others in tow. All Might. Aizawa's tone was a mix of relief and frustration. All Might gave a sheepish smile. Sorry, Aizawa-kun. We got here as quickly as we could. Aizawa glared briefly at Akira and the others before motioning them inside. Get in and rest. The festival is about to start. As the students settled into the lounge, Aizawa turned to All Might. Have they been training this whole time? All Might nodded. Don't worry, Aizawa-kun. They've had 5 hours of rest. 5 hours? Aizawa's frown deepened. You're pushing them too hard. Even with the Brave Academy looming, overtraining can be counterproductive. All Might remained confident. Trust me. This year's Class 1A will be the most impressive in U.A's history. Chapter 86, Akira's Oath. Aizawa Shoyuda glanced at All Might out of the corner of his eye, his tone calm but firm. He knew that this year's first year students were particularly dazzling. This was also the first time in U.A's history that the principal had established a special team from the first grade. Even without you telling me, I know this first-year class will surprise many people, Aizawa said matter-of-factly. Hearing this, All Might smiled. The strength of Akira and the others has grown faster than I expected. By the time they return from the Brave Academy, I believe they'll surpass even our expectations. Aizawa didn't respond, but the hint of a nod showed his agreement. Let's discuss that later, Aizawa said, turning toward the stadium. For now, we need to focus on the sports festival. It's about to begin, and we should prepare. The room was filled with murmurs and exclamations. That's incredible. You're the first years ever chosen as exchange students. Yeah, Yayarosa Momo said thoughtfully, but it feels like our class just lost half its combat strength. Lita adjusted his glasses, his expression serious. I'm curious about what kind of students they'll face at the Brave Academy. Akira leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, and replied casually, no one. Their side didn't send anyone over. This revelation caused a stir. What? No one? Then how is it an exchange program? It's more like a solo expedition, Akira said with a smirk. We're going as representatives, and we'll return to UA once a month. The program lasts anywhere from 3 months to a year, depending on the results. Before anyone could ask more, President Mick's enthusiastic voice blared from the speakers. Students, it's time. The UA Sports Festival is about to begin. All first-year participants, please head to the arena. Lita sprang into action. Akira, put on your sportswear quickly. The opening ceremony is starting. Akira nodded, standing up and stretching. The massive stadium was alive with energy. Spectators cheered, cameras flashed, and fireworks painted the sky above. President Mick's booming voice echoed across the arena as he addressed the crowd. Welcome, everyone. Media, fans, and supporters from all over, get ready for the event of the year. The UA Sports Festival is about to begin. Let's give it up for our first-year students. Cheers erupted as first-year students from the Hero Course, General Studies, Support Department, and Management course walked out from different entrances, gathering in the center of the stadium. Above the arena, Pro Hero Midnight stood on the podium, her signature whip in hand. She waved to the crowd before addressing the students. The contestants will now swear the oath. Midnight's voice rang out, silencing the murmurs of the crowd. Akira Kitagawa, from Class 1A, step forward. All eyes turned to Akira as he climbed the stage. The cameras zoomed in on him, projecting his image on the giant screens. In the stands, students from other courses whispered among themselves. That's him? Akira Kitagawa? I heard he's strong, but arrogant. Isn't he the one who got kicked out of being Class 1A's squad leader? Yeah, but Class 1A's full of weirdos anyway. Better watch out for them during the competition. Amidst the whispers, Akira stood tall on the platform. He glanced over at Yaoyorozu Momo before stepping forward. Hey, what am I even supposed to say? Akira muttered. Keep it confident and inspiring, Yaoyorozu replied with a calm smile. You've got this. Taking a deep breath, Akira faced the crowd. This festival isn't just a competition, Akira began, his voice steady but powerful. It's a test of our strength, determination, and resolve. Every one of us is here to prove something not just to the world, but to ourselves. He paused, letting his words sink in. So let's give it everything we've got. No holding back, no excuses. Because at the end of the day, we're all aiming for the same goal, to become the best version of ourselves. The crowd erupted in cheers, the energy reaching a fever pitch. Akira stepped down, the applause still echoing. Not bad, Kaminari said with a grin as Akira returned to his classmates. Yeah, you actually sounded cool, Kirishima added, giving him a thumbs up. Akira shrugged, but a small smirk tugged at his lips. Of course I did. In the stands, pro heroes watched the proceedings closely. That's Endeavor's son, right? Todoroki Shoto? MT Lady asked, pointing at the icy-haired boy among Class 1A. Yes, Kamui Woods replied. This year's first years are something else. Between Todoroki, Bakugo, and that Akira kid, we're in for a show. And here I thought the sports festival was going to be boring, MT Lady said, leaning back with a grin. The first years stood ready, the opening ceremony complete. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, the festival officially underway. The real battles were about to begin. Chapter 87, You're Cheating Again. Hearing this, Yaoyorozu Momo was stunned for a moment before replying, Just say something. Really? Yeah. Yaoyorozu Momo replied, nodding. Huh? Don't you understand this? Jiro Kyoka, who was beside them, couldn't help but ask after hearing what Akira had said. Akira smiled awkwardly, his expression a bit more expressive than usual. He hadn't realized that there was a specific way to swear an oath and had no idea what it entailed. It was something that never came up in his memories. Seeing Akira's confused expression, both Jiro Kyoka and Yaoyorozu Momo couldn't help but cover their mouths and laugh. It was rare for Akira to be caught off guard like this. To take an oath, you just say the word oath and then express your feelings, Yaoyorozu Momo explained patiently. Akira, please come up quickly. Anchor's voice rang out from the top of the ring, snapping everyone back to attention. Okay. Coming right away, Akira said as he walked towards the platform. He glanced at all the first-year students before clearing his throat and speaking up. Oath, you work hard. If you win, I will lose. Akira said calmly, his voice carrying clearly through the stadium. As soon as the words left his mouth, the entire audience, students, spectators, and even professional heroes erupted into an uproar. Who is this guy? Seriously? This tone, so arrogant. He's so full of himself. Just because he thinks he's All Might's apprentice doesn't mean he can act this way. I heard he's strong. Let's see if he can back it up. You're definitely All Might's apprentice. That much is clear, one of the professional heroes said, smirking. But don't you think he's being a bit too confident? A rash approach like that will only backfire. You're right. I'd say if his strength doesn't live up to the hype, his next match is going to be a struggle, another professional hero added. Haha, well, if he's as strong as they say, it shouldn't be an issue. But this is the sports festival. He's not only competing against the other students, but also Class A. All Might, your apprentice seems energetic, one of the staff members teased as they looked at All Might. Of course, All Might replied confidently, what he said may seem over the top, but there's truth in it. He's ready. After Akira made his statement, he returned to his position. Anchor immediately called for the event to begin. All right, everyone, let's get ready for the first event, Anchor announced. The big screen lit up, and the first event of the day appeared on the screen, obstacle course. Let me explain the rules. There are 11 classes participating. The course is roughly 4 kilometers long, weaving around the sports ground. You can use any method as long as you stay within the track, we explained. Akira muttered to himself, obstacle race? A bit traditional, but I'll manage. The countdown began, and once it reached 0, the gate opened with a loud click. Students from all directions surged forward. Behind the gate lay a 20-meter-long tunnel, and soon, many students were stuck trying to navigate through it. However, an unexpected sight appeared. An ice bridge stretched over the tunnel as Shoto Todoroki from Class A used his quirk to glide smoothly across. Present Mick's voice echoed through the arena. And there it is! Class A's Shoto Todoroki is leading the pack, crossing the tunnel with his ice bridge. Right behind him, Bakugo Katsuki from Class A follows closely, using the ice bridge to gain second place. Midoriya Izuku is third, using horizontal jumps to avoid the chaos and make it out next. Akira, however, wasn't far behind. In the blink of an eye, he sprouted a pair of wings and soared through the tunnel, snatching the lead. The audience gasped. Wait, what's that? He's flying? Unbelievable. Class A's Kitagawa Akira just bypassed everyone using wings. That's cheating. Technically, it's not against the rules since he's staying within the track, Present Mike clarified with a chuckle. But wow! What a move! Chapter 88, Public Enemy of Students. After Present Mick's voice echoed across the stadium, countless heads turned upward, their gazes locking onto Akira as he soared through the air. Wait, what? Is that guy actually flying? Holy crap, he's got wings. What kind of quirk is that? That's insane, asterisk. Is this even allowed? It feels like cheating. Didn't you hear Present Mike? As long as you don't leave the track, you can do whatever you want. If you can grow wings and fly, then more power to you. Hearing this, one of the more disgruntled students fell silent, a flicker of jealousy evident in their expression. Meanwhile, Akira soared onward, his figure growing smaller as he sped toward the first obstacle. It looks like Class 1A is full of energy this year. Yeah, it's only been a minute, and most of the frontrunners are from Class 1A. We've got to step up, Shinso. Right, Hitoshi Shinso muttered, his brows furrowing. He couldn't help but notice how well Class 1A seemed to handle their quirks. It didn't take long for Akira to encounter the first obstacle, the 0-point robots from the entrance exam. As the massive robots loomed ahead, President Mick's excited commentary filled the air. Here we go, folks! The first challenge of the course, the infamous robot hell. But Akira didn't even break his stride, or rather, his flight. With a flick of his wrist, he conjured a sand arrow that tore through the air, obliterating the robots in an instant. The attack was so powerful it even left a crater in the ground. Unbelievable! Akira from Class 1A just wiped out all the 0-pointers in one move. President Mike shouted, his voice ringing with excitement. The crowd erupted in cheers, the audience already captivated by Akira's overwhelming display. Back on the ground, the rest of the participants were left stunned, momentarily frozen in place. Akira's insane. How are we supposed to keep up with that? Forget it, let's just focus on ourselves, asterisk. Among the runners, Yaoyorozu glanced at the carnage Akira had left behind and spoke hesitantly. Midoriya and the others aren't exactly sticking together, are they? Yeah, they're kind of all over the place, Jiro agreed, her tone laced with concern. We can't afford to fall behind. Uraraka called from behind them, snapping them out of their daze. Hearing this, Yaoyorozu nodded and pushed forward, the group quickly regaining their pace. Meanwhile, Akira remained leagues ahead, his dominance on full display. And there he is, folks! Akira from Class 1A is still in first place by a huge margin, President Mike announced. Following closely behind him are Todoroki, Bakugo, Midoriya, and Tokoyami, all from Class 1A as well. The audience buzzed with excitement. Akira is on another level. His quirk, his physical fitness, his judgment, it's all outstanding. Well, he is All Might's apprentice. What do you expect? Despite his lead, Akira suddenly slowed down, descending gracefully to the ground. What's this? Akira is landing! President Mike exclaimed. The four frontrunners are closing in fast. True to his words, Todoroki, Bakugo, Midoriya, and Tokoyami overtook Akira without hesitation. They spared him a glance, but didn't stop, each focused on their own goals. At this point, Bakugo's fiery determination had shifted. Initially, he had aimed to crush Midoriya and surpass Akira, but now, he realized the latter was an impossible target. Instead, he doubled down on his resolve to outshine Midoriya. Midoriya, on the other hand, had grown remarkably over time. Where he once cowered before Bakugo, he now stood firm, his strength and confidence rivaling his rivals. Todoroki, too, had undergone a transformation. No longer burdened by his father's expectations, he competed for himself and no one else. Despite the intense rivalry among the four, none of them considered Akira their true opponent. His strength was simply too overwhelming. To regard him as an enemy would only shake their confidence. As they surged ahead, Akira smirked, watching the crowd of participants gradually approach. Flying to the finish line is too boring, he muttered to himself. Let's spice things up a bit. With a mischievous grin, Akira prepared to make the race far more challenging for everyone else. Chapter 89, Too Much. Akira calmly pressed his palm against the ground. A subtle but powerful ripple spread outward, distorting the earth beneath him. In the blink of an eye, the solid track ahead transformed. The ground began to churn and crumble, turning into loose sand that spanned over 200 meters. Sand swamp, Akira murmured, his tone as steady as ever. The arena trembled as President Mick's energetic voice boomed through the speakers. What's this? Akira from Class 1A has just turned a section of the track into a desert. Is he trying to make things more interesting for the competitors behind him? Asterisk. Cheers erupted from the audience, their excitement reaching a fever pitch. Meanwhile, the reaction among the competitors was far less enthusiastic. No way. Akira actually transformed part of the track into sand? Jiro exclaimed, her shock mirrored by her classmates. This isn't just about turning the track into a desert, Yaoyorosa said, her sharp gaze analyzing the situation even as she kept running. There's bound to be more to it than meets the eye. Yeah, I bet there's a trap waiting for anyone who tries to cross it, Uraraka added, her tone filled with concern. Their shared apprehension wasn't unfounded. By now, most students had seen enough of Akira's actions to know he rarely did anything without a purpose. That guy's too much. Mineta complained, his frustration evident. We're in the same class, for crying out loud. Honestly, we should be glad it's just a desert and not something worse, Kaminari said, grinning as he jogged beside him. Now that you mention it. Mineta muttered, a bead of sweat rolling down his temple as he thought about the possibilities. As the desert section loomed ahead, the first group of competitors arrived at the edge, hesitant to proceed. This is Akira's doing, isn't it? One of them muttered, his confidence wavering. What's the big deal? It's just sand, another said, stepping boldly forward. But as soon as his foot sank into the loose ground, his confidence evaporated. What the? He tried to lift his foot, but it wouldn't budge. The sand clung to him like quicksand, refusing to let go. Help me! Pull me out, he shouted, turning to his companion in panic. The other man smirked, his competitive spirit overriding any inclination to help. Sorry, but it looks like Akira's obstacle is working perfectly. Thanks for slowing down the others for me. Without a second thought, he activated his quirk and navigated the treacherous terrain, leaving his stuck companion behind. As more students arrived, the desert became a bottleneck. Those with powerful quirks managed to push through, but many others found themselves trapped, cursing Akira's name. That guy's a maniac. This is infuriating. Someone needs to teach him a lesson. Isn't this against the rules? One of them shouted, his voice tinged with desperation. President Nick's cheerful commentary quickly dispelled any doubts. There's nothing in the rules against modifying the track with your quirk, folks. As long as it doesn't leave the boundaries, it's fair game. Hearing this, the competitors could only grit their teeth and continue struggling. Back in the stadium, the audience roared with laughter and excitement. Looks like Akira's sand swamp has really shaken things up, President Mike announced. But now, let's turn our attention back to the leaders returning to the stadium. The screens lit up, showing the current frontrunners. In first place, it's Shoto Todoroki from Class 1A. Second place goes to Bakugo Katsuki. And third place is none other than Midoriya Izuku. The crowd erupted into cheers, the energy in the arena reaching new heights. Moments later, more competitors began trickling in. Despite stopping to create his desert obstacle, Akira had already caught up to Tokoimi and reclaimed fourth place. Up in the stands, the teachers watched the chaos unfold. Where's Aizawa? Class 1B's homeroom teacher asked, his expression a mixture of frustration and disbelief. He's helping with the commentary, All Might replied with a chuckle. The Class 1B teacher's frustration only grew. That Akira is unbelievable. If it weren't for that desert, my students would've had a better shot at advancing, asterisk. All Might simply smiled, his eyes gleaming with pride. Akira's performance, as chaotic as it was, only reaffirmed his exceptional potential. Chapter 90, A Big Dark Horse is Born. Seeing the expression of the head teacher of Class B, All Might couldn't help but respond with a wry smile. There's nothing we can do about it. In reality, various accidents happen all the time. Only by overcoming such challenges can we truly become heroes. The head teacher of Class B forced an awkward smile and replied, "All might, I didn't mean anything by it. I was just praising this kid, Beichuan Akira. He's certainly energetic, asterisk." "Really? It's good to be full of energy and spirit," All Might said, his tone calm but firm. Yes, absolutely," the head teacher of Class B replied quickly, trying to smooth over his earlier remarks. Internally, he was relieved that All Might didn't press further anymore, and he might have seemed incompetent as a teacher. On the field, the remaining candidates finally made their way back to the stadium. Midnight, standing tall on the stage, raised her voice to address the students. The top 42 will advance to the next round. For those who didn't make it, don't be discouraged. The school has plenty of other opportunities for you to shine. Her words carried a strange mix of encouragement and amusement, punctuated by her trademark mischievous smile. And now, it's time for the main event to begin, Midnight announced, excitement clear in her tone. The media will be watching closely, so give it your all. The giant screen behind her spun to reveal the title of the next competition, Horseback Battle. The moment those words appeared, the students erupted in chatter. Horseback battle? Kaminari Denki scratched his head, his confusion evident. This isn't really my strong suit. Is it a team-based event? Yaoyorozu Momo asked aloud, her analytical mind already churning. It must be. Otherwise, how could it work? Jiro Kyoka added, narrowing her eyes at the title. Before they could speculate further, Midnight clapped her hands to regain their attention and began explaining the rules. The competition requires contestants to form teams of 2 to 4 members, creating a horse formation. The basic rules are like the horseback battles you've played in school, except this time, there's a twist. Her grin widened, and she gestured to the screen behind her. Each participant will be assigned points based on their ranking in the obstacle course. Those points will determine the total score of the horse. And the most important part? The rider must wear a headband that displays the team's score. The students exchanged wary glances as Midnight continued. The objective is simple: snatch as many headbands as possible from other teams while protecting your own. The team with the highest score at the end of 15 minutes wins. However, she added with a smirk, a single headband has a massive value attached to it. Her words hung in the air for a moment before she delivered the bombshell. The rider with the highest score, our first-place finisher, has a headband worth 10 million points. 10 million points? The stadium was instantly alive with noise. Students from every class turned their gazes toward Shoto Todoroki, the first-place finisher in the obstacle course. Their eyes gleamed with determination and greed. That's insane, Kaminari muttered, his jaw dropping. Anyone who gets that headband can jump straight to first place. But it's not going to be easy, Jiro said. The person wearing it is bound to be targeted by everyone. You're right, Yaoyorozu said, her expression thoughtful. And considering Todoroki's strength, it won't be a simple task. Meanwhile, a few students whispered among themselves, relieved that Akira hadn't taken first place. Imagine if that lunatic got the 10 million point headband, one murmured. No one would dare challenge him. Yeah, he'd probably destroy anyone who tried to take it, another added, shivering at the thought. However, another voice chimed in, raising an even more terrifying possibility. What if Todoroki and Akira team up? A 10 million point dark horse like that would be unstoppable. The mere suggestion sent shudders through the group. Midnight wasn't done yet. She raised a finger, signaling for silence as she laid down the remaining rules. You'll have 15 minutes to form your teams. Remember, even if your headband is stolen or your team falls apart, you won't be eliminated. So, don't hold back. Her smile turned sharp. That said, any deliberate attacks meant to harm a horse formation or incapacitate players will result in a red card and immediate disqualification. Now, go ahead and form your teams. The students immediately scattered, frantically searching for teammates. In this horse battle, if I team up with Akira, no one will be able to touch our points, Todoroki muttered, analyzing the situation. He glanced toward Akira but quickly frowned. A swarm of students had already surrounded Akira, eagerly proposing alliances. It seemed everyone had the same idea. No way, so fast, Todoroki muttered, his eyebrows furrowing. Akira, meanwhile, stood at the center of the crowd, his arms crossed and his expression calm. I appreciate the enthusiasm, he said, his voice carrying over the noise. But I'm not just going to team up with anyone. If you want to form a team with me, you'd better bring something to the table. His words sent a ripple of unease through the group. While everyone wanted to ally with him, they also knew he wasn't someone who'd tolerate weakness. As the time to form teams ticked away, the competition's true nature began to reveal itself, not just a test of strength, but a battle of strategy, trust, and adaptability. And as always, Akira stood at the center of it all, ready to turn the tides of the game. Chapter 91 Drive. Akira's voice carried an air of confidence as he commanded his team to move forward. The crowd erupted with excitement. As the cavalry battle officially began, teams scrambled across the field, some darting forward aggressively while others hung back, strategizing. Yaoyorozu, acting as the backbone of the team, whispered, Akira, what's our plan? Charging in might draw too much attention, especially with the high-point targets out there. Akira smirked, standing atop their makeshift horse with Kaminari, Yaoyorozu, and Hatsum supporting him. His sharp eyes scanned the field, noting Todoroki's team already locked in a heated clash with others aiming for the coveted 10 million points. We'll play it smart. No need to attract unnecessary attention right now. Let the others weaken each other first. Kaminari, who was positioned as one of the front carriers, chuckled nervously. That's good and all, but if we don't act soon, someone else might take all the points, and we'll be stuck with nothing. Relax, Kaminari, Akira said calmly, his tone unwavering. This isn't just about brute force. It's a chess game. Watch and wait, that's how you win. Hatsum, the team's wildcard, grinned excitedly. Great strategy. It'll give me more time to test out my babies. She patted the gadget strapped to her waist, though Akira shot her a warning look. Just don't get us disqualified, Hatsum. Remember, no unauthorized equipment. Don't worry, it's all within the rules, she reassured, her smile unbothered. As the battle unfolded, chaos reigned across the field. Todoroki's team immediately became the main target, with multiple teams gunning for his 10 million points. Bakugo, having assembled his own team, was plowing through competitors with explosive determination. Damn it, half and half. Bakugo growled as Todoroki skillfully evaded his attacks. Stop running and fight me like a man. Meanwhile, Midoriya's team played defensively, carefully avoiding direct confrontations while slowly accumulating points by stealing from weaker teams. Akira's team, however, remained relatively unnoticed. Akira, Yaoyorozu said, her tone filled with concern, we might have waited too long. Teams are closing in on us. Perfect, Akira said with a grin. Let them come. As one overly ambitious team charged toward them, Akira raised his hand. Sand wall. A barrier of sand erupted in front of their attackers, sending them skidding to a halt. Before they could react, Akira directed a second wave of sand to sweep across the field, scattering them in disarray. That's dirty, one of their opponents yelled, flailing in the sandstorm. Akira shrugged. It's called strategy. Try it sometime. Kaminari laughed nervously. Man, I'm glad I'm on your team. You're terrifying. As the battle continued, their calculated approach started to pay off. While the other teams exhausted themselves fighting For Todoroki's 10 million points, Akira's team began targeting smaller groups, quickly amassing points without drawing significant attention. President Mick's voice boomed across the stadium. What's this? Akira's team is making some serious moves. They're climbing the ranks without even breaking a sweat. That's how you play the long game, Aizawa commented from the commentator's booth, his tone neutral but impressed. He's using his environment and his opponent's aggression against them. Midnight nodded in agreement. But the question is, can they maintain this pace as the timer runs down? With 5 minutes remaining, the field had narrowed significantly. Todoroki and Bakugo were still locked in an intense battle, their respective teams refusing to back down. Midoriya's team continued to evade, their tactical gameplay earning them a respectable position. Akira, standing tall atop his team, surveyed the field once more. It's time, he said. Time for what? Kaminari asked, his nerves getting the better of him. Akira's smirk widened. Time to take the crown. Without warning, Akira's team surged forward, aiming directly for Todoroki's group. The sudden move caught everyone off guard, including Todoroki himself. Akira? Todoroki muttered, his eyes narrowing. So you're finally making your move. With a flick of his wrist, Akira summoned a swirling vortex of sand, isolating Todoroki's team from their attackers. Let's see how you handle this, half and half, Akira said, his voice calm but commanding. The final moments of the battle were chaotic, with teams scrambling to secure as many points as possible. As the buzzer sounded, Akira's confident grin remained unwavering. President Mick's voice rang out once again. And that's it. The cavalry battle is over. Now let's see how the teams rank. The crowd erupted into cheers, eager to see the results. Chapter 92 Bakugo Katsuki Online Hammer. Listening to Akira's casual command of drive, Yaoyorozu and the others couldn't help but stiffen their expressions. You really treat us like horses, don't you? Kaminari grumbled with a twitching smile. Akira smirked. Do you think I, Kitagawa Akira, am that kind of person? Kaminari, Yaoyorozu, and Hatsume exchanged knowing glances before nodding in unison. Absolutely. I think all we need is to borrow Midnight Sensei's whip, Yaoyorozu quipped with a raised eyebrow. Kaminari joined in, chuckling, yeah, just crack that whip, and we'll really feel like we're in a rodeo. Akira rolled his eyes, feigning exasperation. All right, enough jokes. Focus. We've got a game to win. Despite the banter, the field's atmosphere was already chaotic. Less than 2 minutes into the match, the center of the stadium was a battlefield, with teams scrambling for headbands left and right. However, no one dared to approach Akira's team. It wasn't surprising though their team ranked third, Akira's presence alone was a deterrent. His reputation as a wild card made most teams avoid them entirely. We're not exactly popular, are we? Yaoyorozu remarked, her tone wry. Akira shrugged, unconcerned. That's fine by me. Let them duke it out. We'll just swoop in later and pick up the pieces. Saves us the trouble. After a moment of thought, Kaminari and Yaoyorozu nodded in agreement. Hatsume, however, seemed more focused on observing the chaos with a gleam of excitement in her eyes. Meanwhile, the announcer President Mick's voice boomed across the stadium. Less than 2 minutes in, and it's already a battlefield out there. Look at that action, folks! Headbands are flying, and alliances are breaking apart, asterisk. Bakugo's team, however, was facing their own set of challenges. Kirishima, we're going for first place. Let's get in there. Bakugo growled, his fiery determination evident. But, it's chaos in there. We might lose our own headband if we're not careful. Kirishima hesitated, clearly worried. We're not backing down. That's what makes it fun. Bakugo retorted with a wild grin, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Sure, but maybe we should be more careful? There's someone scarier behind us, you know. Jiro interjected, glancing nervously toward Akira's team. Bakugo paused for a moment, his grin faltering as he turned to look at Akira. But before he could process his next move, disaster struck. A sudden tug on Bakugo's head made him freeze. His scoremark headband had been snatched clean off. Too slow, Class A. The culprit? Monoma Nito from Class B, who stood a few meters away, twirling Bakugo's headband smugly. Bakugo's face contorted with fury, veins bulging on his forehead. What did you say, you little punk? Give that back, or I'll blow you to pieces. Monoma's smirk widened as he twirled the headband mockingly. Typical Class A arrogance. You're so obsessed with temporary rankings that you've completely missed the bigger picture. Monoma sneered. Asterisk, what was that? Bakugo roared, his anger reaching a boiling point. Monoma ignored the outburst, speaking with an air of superiority. From the first event, one observed everything, analyzing quirks, strategies, and personalities. Unlike you, we in Class B understand that true victory isn't about a single moment. It's about preparation and control. He held up the headband triumphantly. And now, with this, I've taken my first step toward that control. Bakugo's team stared in disbelief, with Kirishima muttering, is this guy for real? But Monoma wasn't done. His smirk turned more devious. Your impulsiveness, your lack of strategy, it's why Class A always falls short. You're nothing more than a carrot on a stick, chasing after meaningless glory. Asterisk. Big mistake. Bakugo's fists clenched, his entire body trembling with rage. He didn't just feel insulted, he felt mocked. Kirishima, change of plans, Bakugo growled, his voice dangerously low. Kirishima gulped. What's the plan? Bakugo's eyes burned with fury as he pointed directly at Monoma. I'm going to kill him. Chapter 93. My ability is not something that ordinary people. Kirishima felt a sense of foreboding as Bakugo's rage intensified. He quickly tried to intervene, hoping to calm him down. Bakugo, hold on! Don't lose it! Meanwhile, Monoma, ever the instigator, couldn't resist pushing further. Bakugo, always so quick to anger, Monoma taunted, his smile widening. You know, there's a saying, asterisk, villains are just heroes with too much pride and too little control. Asterisk, sound familiar? Kirishima and Jiro both flinched at the clear insult, sensing that Monoma might have gone too far this time. You might want to reconsider provoking him, Jiro muttered, nervously glancing at Bakugo's increasingly feral expression. But Monoma only chuckled, brushing off her warning. What's wrong with a little truth? If anything, I'm helping him build character. Asterisk. That was the last straw. Bakugo's face darkened as he clenched his fists, small explosions popping in his palms. That's it, Bakugo growled, his voice trembling with fury. Kirishima, let's go. Bakugo! Wait! Kirishima hesitated, worried about where this was going. But seeing the determined glint in Bakugo's eyes, he sighed and nodded reluctantly. Fine. Just try not to kill anyone. As Kirishima charged forward with Bakugo on his back, Monoma smirked, clearly pleased with himself. You think I'm scared? Monoma taunted as Bakugo lunged at him, his palm igniting with a fiery explosion. You're just proving my point, reckless and predictable. Asterisk. Monoma dodged with ease, using his copy quirk to harden his body just in time to block Bakugo's blast. The impact sent him skidding back slightly, but his smirk never wavered. Nice try, Monoma said, brushing imaginary dust off his shoulder. But you'll have to do better than that. Asterisk, villain in training. Asterisk. Bakugo's eyes narrowed, and the next blast came even harder, forcing Monoma to dig his heels into the ground to stay upright. Bakugo, stop! He's just baiting you. Jiro called out, but her words fell on deaf ears. Before the clash could escalate further, a new voice cut through the chaos. Thanks for softening him up for me. Everyone turned to see Akira casually standing nearby, a sly grin on his face. In one swift motion, Akira reached out, snatching the scarves tied around Monoma's neck with precise accuracy. What the? Monoma's expression shifted to shock as Akira effortlessly hung the scarves around his own neck. You're welcome, Akira said smugly, stepping back as Monoma processed what had just happened. Monoma's shock quickly turned to anger, and he reached out, brushing Akira's hand as he attempted to grab the scarves. Back! A grin spread across Monoma's face as realization dawned. Oh! So this is the famed Akira. I've been meaning to test something. Looks like today's my lucky day. Test something? Akira raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. Why, your quirk, of course, Monoma replied, his voice dripping with confidence. You might have everyone else fooled, but I'll show them you're not so special. Bakugo's scowl deepened as he realized what Monoma meant. TCH, don't underestimate him, Monoma. You copy his ability, and you'll only dig your own grave. Akira blinked, his curiosity piqued. Wait. Copy? You can do that? Monoma grinned, raising his hand dramatically. Let me show you. With a wave of his hand, the ground beneath him trembled. Sand surged upwards, forming a massive hand that loomed menacingly over the field. Akira's expression turned serious as he watched the spectacle unfold. Well, damn. Looks like you actually can copy it. Monoma's grin widened as he relished the stunned expressions of those around him. What's wrong, Akira? Feeling a little outclassed? But just as Monoma prepared to strike, a sudden wave of fatigue washed over him. His knees buckled slightly, and sweat beaded on his forehead as his breathing grew labored. What's happening? Monoma stammered, his confident demeanor crumbling. Akira crossed his arms, a knowing smirk playing on his lips. Oh, right. Forgot to mention my ability isn't exactly easy to handle. I guess you're not cut out for the big leagues after all. Monoma tried to steady himself, but the strain of maintaining the sand construct was overwhelming. The massive hand crumbled back into the ground, leaving him exposed and vulnerable. TCH, looks like you bit off more than you could chew, Bakugo sneered, his earlier anger replaced with cold satisfaction. Akira shrugged, his tone casual. Well, this was fun, but I've got a game to win. Better luck next time, Monoma. With that, Akira turned and walked away, his teammates following close behind. Monoma glared after him, his pride in tatters. But as he struggled to catch his breath, he couldn't deny one thing: Akira was far more dangerous than he'd anticipated. Chapter 94. It's Foul Sensei. Kirishima Ijiro had a bad feeling from the start and quickly tried to calm Bakugo. Bakugo, don't let him get to you. Meanwhile, Monoma Nito's teammates sensed something was off. Monoma, are you okay? One of them asked, noticing his pale complexion. Monoma greedily sucked in air before reaching out to touch one of his teammates, seemingly recovering a bit. The giant sand-shaped hand he had just summoned crumbled into loose sand, scattering across the ground. I'm fine, Monoma muttered, though his face was still tense. I just encountered something strange. His quirk hits too much for my body to handle. His teammates stared at him, shocked. Too much? You've never said anything like that before, one exclaimed. Monoma frowned deeply. Neither have I. This is the first time I've come across a quirk that feels overwhelming. After copying Akira's quirk, Monoma had initially felt fine. But as soon as he activated it, an intense strain engulfed his body, draining both his physical and mental strength at an alarming rate. If he hadn't cancelled the ability in time, he might have collapsed on the spot. Let's get out of here, Monoma said, his voice heavy. Before they could move, Akira's voice rang out. Leave? Haha. You think you can provoke me and just walk away? Monoma smirked, regaining some of his composure. What's wrong? Have you forgotten what Midnight Sensei said? A vicious attack aimed at breaking another team's formation will result in disqualification. I don't have a single point left right now. So, unless you're planning to attack viciously, I don't see how you can stop me. He chuckled, his confidence returning. Of course, if you do attack me, I don't mind. Getting you disqualified would be worth it. Akira narrowed his eyes, his irritation growing. He wasn't about to let Monoma off so easily. Pulling off 2 headbands from his neck, Akira threw one to Bakugo and tossed the other toward Monoma. Bakugo, remember what Midnight Sensei didn't say. She didn't say anything about collateral damage when fighting over points. Bakugo grinned widely, catching the headband. Oh yeah, she didn't say that at all. Monoma's smirk faltered. No, hurry. Get to where it's crowded, he barked at his team. Akira sneered, raising his hand. In an instant, walls of sand rose around Monoma's group, cutting off their escape and boxing them in with both Akira's and Bakugo's teams. Bakugo, let's have some fun, Akira said with a smirk. Ha! I've been waiting for this. Bakugo roared, his palms crackling with explosions as he charged forward. Monoma's teammates panicked. We're surrounded. What do we do? I told you not to provoke them, one teammate hissed. Monoma clenched his fists, cursing under his breath, if you don't want to get hit, then run. Don't just stand there waiting for it. But before they could move, Bakugo unleashed an explosion. The blast narrowly missed Monoma's team, leaving a scorched crater in the ground. Run! Run! Monoma screamed as his team bolted in panic, only to find themselves met with another attack. Sandstorm impact! Akira shouted, launching a massive sand projectile at Monoma's group. The attack missed by a hair, crashing through the sand wall and leaving a gaping hole. Monoma's team barely managed to dive out of the way, their legs trembling as they scrambled for safety. Missed again, Akira, Bakugo taunted, his grin widening. You're one to talk, your aim's no better, Akira shot back, smirking. Both of their teammates rolled their eyes. Those two! Yaoyorozu Momo muttered, exasperated. I almost feel bad for Monoma, almost. Hatsume chuckled. TD be more worried about us if they ever teamed up for real. Monoma, meanwhile, had completely lost his composure. His voice cracked as he shouted desperately. Midnight Sensei. It's a foul. They're both breaking the rules. Chapter 95 Akira's Plan. Monoma Nito pointed at Akira and Bakugo, his face red with frustration as he shouted toward Midnight. Akira and Bakugo. They're breaking the rules. This is a clear violation. Midnight paused, cracking the whip in her hand to regain control of the chaotic scene. Her gaze swept over the participants before she made her decision. While their actions might appear excessive, they don't actually violate any rules. Monoma froze, his expression contorting in disbelief. For a moment, his face hardened in frustration, but soon, a sly grin crept across his lips. Malice. If the rules aren't in our favor, then we'll just create conditions that are, he muttered, his voice low yet dripping with. His teammates exchanged worried glances, sensing the dangerous intent behind his words. Monoma, one of them said cautiously, you're not seriously suggesting dash. Exactly, Monoma interrupted, his grin widening. We turn the tables. Don't forget, survival in the hero world isn't about fairness, it's about winning. But that goes against what it means to be a hero, one of his teammates protested. Monoma's grin sharpened, and his eyes gleamed with cold determination. Oh, please. Were Bakugo and Akira being heroic when they decided to gang up on us? No! They're using raw power to dominate. If we want to stay in this competition, we need to fight fire with fire. His teammates hesitated, their faces a mixture of reluctance and unease. Finally, one of them sighed in resignation. Fine. But if this backfires, it's on you. Meanwhile, Bakugo's palms crackled with explosive energy as he growled, "That bastard. Who does he think he is, running his mouth like that?" Asterisk. Bakugo, calm down, Kirishima urged, trying to diffuse the tension. Don't bother, Akira interjected, stepping forward with a calm yet commanding presence. He's trying to bait us into attacking recklessly. Midnight's just waiting for us to slip up and break the rules. Kirishima paused, the realization dawning on him. You're right. But what do we do? Just let him get away with it? Akira's lips curled into a knowing smirk. Not exactly. What's the plan? Kaminari asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and concern. We wait, Akira replied, his tone steady. If we engage him now, we lose control of the situation. But if we let this drag into the next phase, the one-on-one battles, Monoma will be left without his team to hide behind. Yaoyorozu nodded in agreement. The one-on-one matches will favor individual strength. If Monoma and his team are left at the bottom of the rankings, he won't even qualify for the next stage. Bakugo's grin turned feral. I like the sound of that. Let's make him suffer. Kirishima, you're with me. Akira turned to Kaminari. Head toward Todoroki's position. We'll secure enough points to ensure our spot in the final stage. Got it! Kaminari replied, readying himself. At Todoroki's position, the atmosphere was tense yet calm. The icy barricades he had constructed loomed around them, solid and unyielding. For minutes left, Todoroki muttered, his voice low and serious. We've got the 10 million points and a strong defense. As long as we hold this position, we're safe. Do you really think Akira will target us? Izuku asked, his tone betraying his nervousness. Tokoemi folded his arms, his expression somber. If anyone can, it's Akira. But with our 148,000 points, defense is our best option. Ashido tilted her head, puzzled by their cautious attitude. You guys are acting like Akira's some kind of unstoppable monster. I mean, he's strong, but isn't this overkill? The three of them turned to her with serious expressions, leaving Ashido blinking in confusion. You've never seen Akira go all out, have you? Izuku asked quietly. Ashido hesitated. Not really. Why? Tokoemi's tone was grim. If Akira decides to attack, no defense will be enough. That's why we have to make sure he doesn't try. Ashido's confidence wavered. You're joking, right? You're making him sound like some kind of unstoppable force. Before anyone could respond, a faint rumbling echoed through the ground. Todoroki's gaze darkened. He's coming. Akira moved with deliberate purpose, his focus unshaken as the sands beneath his control shifted in a controlled storm around him. With Kaminari and Yaoyorozu at his side, he headed straight for Todoroki's team. We need their points, Akira said calmly, his voice cutting through the tension. Kaminari gulped. Akira? You sure about this? That's Todoroki. Exactly, Akira replied with a smirk. And Todoroki knows he can't afford to face me head-on. The storm loomed closer, and Todoroki's ice wall rose higher, signaling his intent to defend. Stay focused, Todoroki warned his team. If we lose control, Akira will capitalize on it. Izuku clenched his fists, his determination wavering under the pressure. We have to hold out. We can't let him break through. The showdown was inevitable. The question wasn't whether Akira would strike, it was when. Chapter 96 First and Second. That Ashido-san. Just when the atmosphere felt tense, Midoriya Izuku spoke up, breaking the silence. Actually, you know too little about Akira. His strength is beyond your imagination. Izuku's words were measured, each one emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. That's right, Shoto Todoroki added, his expression calm yet firm. Don't think that the difference between the second and first place is not that big. In fact, the gap is so large that you can't even begin to imagine it. Tokoemi Fumikage, who had been silent until now, nodded in agreement. Yeah. Ashido Mina paused after hearing them. At first, she thought the three of them were just exaggerating about Akira. But, looking at their serious expressions, she couldn't help but believe it. No matter what, we must survive these last few minutes, Tokoemi Fumikage said, bringing the focus back to the task at hand. Akira's team consists of Kaminari Denki, Yaoyorozu Momo, and another one who seems to be from the support department, Shoto Todoroki continued. Although he's powerful, he can't use his full strength with 3 drag bottles. But, even so, we should not be careless. Avoid fighting him unless absolutely necessary. The others nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting the same unease. They all remembered the brutal training sessions they'd had with Akira. He was a force to be reckoned with, and no one wanted to be his target. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, breaking the tense silence. Immediately, spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the surrounding ice wall, quickly spreading and fracturing the once solid structure. Within moments, the entire ice wall shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. In less than 2 seconds, the ice wall was reduced to rubble. The voice of President Mike echoed across the stadium, adding to the atmosphere of impending conflict. As you can see, there are only 3 minutes left, and these last 3 minutes are sure to be intense. Akira from Class A has already set his sights on the 10 million points in Shoto Todoroki's team. This is bound to be a tough battle. The audience erupted in cheers as the tension built. Now we get to see something exciting. Shoto Todoroki is the son of Endeavor, the number 2 pro hero, and Akira Kitagawa is the apprentice of All Might, the number 1 pro hero. Who's stronger? Who's weaker? This is what everyone has been waiting for. Exactly. It's the first disciple of All Might versus the second son of Endeavor. This is bound to be a showdown. As long as we see the two of them face off, it'll be worth it. Only 3 minutes left. I wonder if Akira can pull it off. I heard Endeavor's son is very strong. Some people even say he's the number 1 student in this batch. Really? How strong is he? The banter between the audience members only heightened the anticipation. Shoto Todoroki's team, however, were not as carefree. Their faces grew serious as they heard Akira's approach. Here we go, Midoriya Izuku said, bracing himself. Ashido Mina, who had initially been somewhat nonchalant, felt a growing unease as she watched the reactions of Todoroki and the others. Something about their expressions told her that Akira's strength was no exaggeration. We have to survive these last 3 minutes, Shoto Todoroki shouted. Understood! Izuku and the others nodded in unison, then quickly turned to make their escape. But just as they were about to move, Akira made his move. With a wave of his hand, a massive sand wall shot up from the ground, blocking their path. Shoto Todoroki wasn't surprised. With a calm motion, he bent down, his hand hovering just above the ground. He swiftly waved his arm, and towering ice spikes shot up, crashing into the sand wall. With a deafening bang asterisk, a large hole was created in the barrier. Now, let's go! Shoto Todoroki ordered, and without missing a beat, Izuku activated One for All, wrapping himself in a burst of colorful light. Lightning sparked from his body as he propelled himself forward with a powerful kick. As they sped off, Izuku glanced back. Are we being chased? Shoto Todoroki stared at the hole they just passed through, his expression tight. I haven't seen him yet. Just as Izuku was about to let out a relieved sigh, a voice rang in his ears. "Here, there, in the sky!" Ashido Mina shouted, her voice tense. They all looked up at the same time. Chapter 97 Last 2 minutes. As Ashido Mina shouted in alarm, her team turned their heads upward. Sure enough, Akira was descending rapidly from the sky, his team in tow, closing the distance in mere seconds. The atmosphere grew tense as everyone realized the stakes. The battle was nearing its climax, and the melee had become chaotic. Even Akira's team couldn't help but feel nervous. "Akira, slow down. We're gonna crash," Kaminari yelled, his voice tinged with panic. Yaoyorozu and Hatsum were too frightened to even speak, clutching onto their positions tightly. Meanwhile, Shoto Todoroki's team braced themselves. "Tokoemi, get ready!" Todoroki shouted. "Understood!" Tokoemi replied firmly. A dark shadow surged from his abdomen, expanding rapidly and reaching toward Akira and his team. Akira smirked, his confidence unshaken. "I was planning to chase you down, but since you're making the first move, I'll make it worth your while." With a swift motion of his hand, a massive sand construct rose from the ground, gripping Tokoemi's shadow firmly and pulling it toward him. "No! My dark shadow is restrained," Tokoemi called out, his voice grim. Midoriya and the rest of the team exchanged anxious glances, the pressure mounting. The horseback battle rules restricted their full strength, leaving them at a disadvantage. They lacked the coordination of an experienced team, and their improvisation wasn't enough against Akira's precision. "This is bad, he's catching up to us," Mina muttered, a nervous edge in her voice. "Stay calm," Todoroki barked. "We can't afford to panic now. Adapt and react." Akira's team landed smoothly as the shadow broke free from the sand's grip. Tokoemi's dark shadow retaliated with a powerful punch aimed directly at Akira and his team. Kaminari grinned. "Leave this to me." Before Akira could reply, Kaminari unleashed a burst of electricity, countering Dark Shadow's attack. The shadow recoiled, shrinking back to Tokoemi. "Careful not to short-circuit yourself," Akira reminded, his tone sharp but steady. "I got this, no worries," Kaminari said confidently, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Todoroki wasn't one to waste time. He waved his hand, raising an ice wall to separate his team from Akira's. President Mick's voice boomed through the stadium. "Only 2 minutes left, folks. Can Akira Kitagawa take the coveted 10 million points from Todoroki's team? The tension is unreal." The crowd erupted into cheers, their excitement filling the air. "Damn it, 2 minutes!" Akira muttered, his gaze darting to the scoreboard. Todoroki's team still held the top spot with the 10 million points. Akira's team was in second place, followed by Bakugo's. Meanwhile, Monoma's team lagged far behind, their earlier schemes falling apart. "Time's running out, move, move, move," Akira ordered, using Hatsum's equipment and Yaoyorozu's modifications. Kaminari propelled their team forward. In seconds, they closed the gap between themselves and Todoroki's team. "They're catching up," Midoriya exclaimed. "Not yet," Todoroki shouted, freezing the ground in a desperate attempt to slow them down. But Akira waved his hand, and the ice shattered into harmless fragments, leaving a clear path for his team. "They're here!" Mina cried out, panic creeping into her voice. "Dark Shadow, block them," Tokoemi commanded. The shadow surged forward, expanding rapidly. But Akira was ready. With another sweep of his hand, a massive sand construct emerged, grappling Dark Shadow and holding it in place. In mere moments, Akira was face to face with Todoroki. His speed and precision left no time for a counterattack. "What?" Todoroki gasped, his instincts urging him to unleash his full strength. But before he could act, he felt a tug at his neck. When he looked down, The headband carrying the 10 million points was gone. How? When? Todoroki was stunned. Akira's movements were so fast and precise that he hadn't even noticed the headband being taken. It's over, Akira said calmly. Time to find Bakugo next. He turned, leading his team away with a composed demeanor. Midoriya clenched his fists. We can't let him get away. We have to chase him. But before they could act, Todoroki's voice cut through. Stop! The team turned to him, confused. As long as we still have the 10 million points, we'll stay in first place. Chasing him now will only risk everything, Todoroki explained, his tone measured despite his frustration. The team hesitated but ultimately nodded. Chasing Akira at this point was a gamble they couldn't afford to take. The clock ticked down as the stadium buzzed with anticipation, the final minutes promising an unforgettable conclusion. Chapter 98 Endeavor and All Might. As the second stage of the sports festival, the cavalry battle, came to an end, Akira swiftly took the captured points and dashed toward Bakugo. According to the earlier agreement, Akira ensured that Monoma Nito's team secured enough points to advance to the next round. This concludes the second event, the cavalry battle. President Mick's voice echoed throughout the stadium, followed by the enthusiastic cheers of the audience. The participants stopped their actions, many collapsing from exhaustion or sighing in relief. Ha ha! Did you see that? Monoma sneered, his face alight with pride. At the last second, I managed to steal points from Bakugo Katsuki. Class B reigned supreme. Bakugo yawned, unimpressed. Despite Monoma's obvious attempts to rile him up, he didn't take the bait. Instead, he replied with an air of boredom, enjoy your little victory while it lasts. Pray you don't run into me in the next round. Without waiting for a response, Bakugo turned and walked away. Monoma, however, refused to let it go. Don't act so smug, Bakugo. Monoma yelled after him, this was a well-earned win, and you know it. Sure, Bakugo replied lazily, waving over his shoulder, Class B's the best, right? His dismissive tone only added fuel to Monoma's indignation. One of Monoma's teammates hesitantly commented, do you think he's telling the truth? That he let us win? Of course not. Monoma retorted, his face flushing. He's just bitter about losing. Typical Class A arrogance. Meanwhile, President Mick's voice filled the air once again. All right, everyone. Let's look at the final standings for the cavalry battle. The large screen displayed the results. 1 ST place, Shoto Todoroki's team. 2 ND place, Akira's team. 3 RD place, Bakugo Katsuki's team. 4 TH place, Monoma Nito's team. The top 4 teams will advance to the final event. Contestants, take this opportunity to rest during the hour-long lunch break before the final stage begins. The crowd erupted in cheers, celebrating the incredible performances they had witnessed. Elsewhere, in the stadium stairs. Endeavor, long time no see. How about a cup of tea? All Might's cheerful voice stopped Endeavor in his tracks. The number 2 hero turned, his expression unreadable. All Might, he said, his voice cold. All Might offered a friendly smile. It's been, 10 years since our last conversation? Thought I'd come over and say hi. Endeavor scoffed, clearly uninterested. You've said it. Now move aside. I don't have time for this nonsense, asterisk. Undeterred, All Might continued, come on, don't be so cold. Your son, Todoroki, put on a stellar performance out there. Especially considering he didn't even use his full strength. You must be proud. The mention of Todoroki seemed to strike a nerve. Endeavor's frown deepened as he replied, your apprentice, Akira, performed well too. You've taught him admirably. All Might hesitated, scratching the back of his head awkwardly. Truthfully, Akira's progress was largely self-driven, he hadn't needed much guidance. Endeavor, sensing the hesitation, began to walk away again. However, as he reached the corner of the stairs, he stopped and spoke in a low, firm tone. "Remember this, All Might, one day, I will ensure my son surpasses you." All Might's smile faltered. "What are you talking about?" "My son, Shoto, will surpass you and your apprentice," Endeavor declared. "I created him for that sole purpose." Though his words carried an air of confidence, Endeavor's expression betrayed a complicated mix of pride and frustration. Without waiting for a reply, he descended the stairs, leaving All Might standing in stunned silence. Chapter 99 Akira vs. Tetsutetsu. The stadium buzzed with excitement as Akira and Tetsutetsu stood face to face in the center of the ring. The crowd roared in anticipation, eager to witness the clash between two powerful quirks. "Begin!" Synopsis announced, his voice resounding through the arena. Tetsutetsu wasted no time, charging forward with unwavering determination. His quirk, Steel, hardened his entire body, giving him unparalleled durability and raw physical strength. His gleaming metallic fist swung toward Akira with unrelenting force. Akira stood still, unfazed. As Tetsutetsu's punch closed in, his body shimmered briefly before dispersing into a swirling mass of sand. The powerful blow passed through harmlessly, scattering grains of sand across the arena floor. Akira reformed a few feet away, a smirk playing on his lips. "Is that it?" Akira asked, his tone calm and confident. Tetsutetsu's eyes widened momentarily before he steeled himself. "Don't underestimate me," he shouted, charging again, with even more ferocity. This time, Akira raised his hand, and a wave of sand erupted from the ground, forming a dense wall between them. Tetsutetsu slammed into the barrier, the impact sending vibrations through the arena. The sand wall cracked slightly but quickly reformed, holding strong. Akira watched with interest. "You're durable, I'll give you that. But raw strength isn't going to cut it. Shut up and fight!" Tetsutetsu roared, swinging his fists wildly as he tried to break through the sand barrier. Akira shook his head and raised his other hand. The sand beneath Tetsutetsu shifted, forming a swirling vortex that quickly ensnared his feet. Tetsutetsu struggled, but the more he fought, the tighter the sand coiled around him, immobilizing him further. "Stop squirming. You're only making it worse," Akira said, his voice calm yet commanding. Tetsutetsu gritted his teeth, his metallic sheen growing brighter as he poured more of his strength into breaking free. "Team. Not giving up that easily." The crowd cheered wildly, impressed by both fighters' abilities. President Mick's voice boomed over the speakers, hyping up the action. "Whoa!" Tetsutetsu's sheer willpower is on full display, but can he break free from Akira's relentless sand? This is one intense matchup, folks. Akira sighed, extending his arm forward. The swirling sand around Tetsutetsu surged upward, lifting him into the air. "It's over," Akira declared as the sand spun faster, disorienting his opponent. Tetsutetsu clenched his fists, struggling against the grip of the sand, but it was futile. Finally, Akira flicked his wrist, sending Tetsutetsu flying out of the ring. The metallic fighter landed on the padded ground outside the arena with a heavy thud, his quirk reverting as exhaustion took over. Synopsis raised his hand. "Winner, Kitagawa Akira." The stadium erupted in cheers and applause, the audience on their feet to celebrate the intense battle. Akira brushed the sand off his jacket and turned to leave the ring, his expression as calm and composed as ever. Tetsutetsu sat up outside the ring, clutching his head in frustration but eventually cracking a small smile. "Guess I need to train harder," Tetsutetsu muttered to himself before being helped up by his classmates. As Akira returned to the waiting area, Kaminari and Yayarosa greeted him with enthusiastic cheers. "You made that look easy," Kaminari said, grinning from ear to ear. Akira shrugged. "He put up a good fight, but he was too straightforward. If you can predict your opponent, you've already won half the battle, asterisk. Yaoyorozu nodded in agreement, her thoughtful expression indicating she was analyzing the fight. You're right. Still, you handled it with precision. Well done. As the next match was announced, Akira sat back, ready to watch and strategize for the rounds ahead. This was only the beginning, and he knew the competition would only get tougher from here. Chapter 100 My fists are no joke. After hearing Akira's words, Tetsu's expression turned sour. He frowned and replied with a stiff face. You make me really unhappy. You're always saying things I can't understand. Akira paused for a moment, then smirked and waved his hand dismissively. Is that so? Well, it just means there's a generation gap between us. Tetsu's quirk, steel, was similar to Kirishima Ijiro's hardening. While Kirishima could harden his body, Tetsu could turn his entire body into steel, making him both a formidable shield and a fearsome spear. Humph. Tetsu snorted coldly, brushing off Akira's nonchalant remark. Let's see if your sand can match my steel. Akira responded with a playful smile. You'd better watch closely then. Before Tetsu could respond, President Mick's voice echoed across the stadium. Let the match begin. The moment the words left the announcer's mouth, Tetsu activated his quirk, his body gleaming as it transformed into solid steel. Without hesitation, he charged toward Akira with all his might. Wow! What energy! Tetsu from Class B is going all out right from the start. President Mike shouted, hyping up the crowd. Akira stood still, watching Tetsu's aggressive approach with an amused look. As the gap between them closed, Akira calmly clenched his fist. In an instant, his arm was enveloped in jet-black armament hockey, a menacing aura radiating from his raised fist. Tetsu roared as he swung his steel-clad fist toward Akira with full force. The crowd held their breath in anticipation. Meanwhile, in the Class B section, students were already making comments. No way! Is Akira seriously going to go head-to-head with Tetsu? That's just asking to get wrecked. Tetsu's steel quirk is perfect for direct combat. Akira doesn't stand a chance if he tries to brute force it. Monoma leaned back with a smug grin. Class A's so-called strongest is about to get a reality check. However, the Class B representative, Kendo Itsuka, frowned, her intuition kicking in. Don't be so sure. Akira Kitagawa isn't someone who fights without thinking asterisk. Monoma rolled his eyes. Oh, please. I fought him earlier. Sure, he's strong, but he's not invincible. Kendo snapped back, you're just bitter because he thrashed you. Sit down. Meanwhile, in the Class A section, the mood was far more lighthearted. I'm giving it 10 seconds, Kaminari Denki declared, grinning. Akira's got this in 10 seconds, tops. 10 seconds? You're underestimating him, Kirishima chimed in. I say 5 seconds. Nah, Mineta said, smirking mischievously. He could have ended it the moment the match started if he wanted. Tokoemi nodded sagely. Indeed. Akira could finish this in a blink of an eye if he deemed it necessary. Listening to this conversation, Kendo, who had approached the Class A section to gauge their thoughts, could only stare in disbelief. They're not even questioning whether he'll win. They're debating how quickly he'll destroy Tetsu. She sighed and muttered to herself, these guys. Back in the arena, the decisive moment arrived. With a deafening bang, Akira's fist connected with Tetsu's incoming punch. The force of the collision sent a shockwave through the air. To the astonishment of everyone watching, Akira didn't move an inch, while Tetsu was hurled backward like a ragdoll. He landed hard, skidding toward the edge of the ring. The crowd erupted into cheers. Unbelievable! President Mike exclaimed. A single punch from Akira Kitagawa, and Tetsu is already on the ropes. Is this the power of All Might's apprentice? Asterisk. Tetsu staggered to his feet, his body trembling. He glanced down at his steel arm, which was visibly shaking. His fingers twitched uncontrollably, and a sharp pain radiated up to his shoulder. What kind of monster strength is this? Tetsu muttered, his confidence wavering. Akira, still standing in the same spot, raised his hand and gestured for Tetsu to come at him again. Still want to go? Another round? I've got all day, asterisk. The stadium roared with excitement as the match continued, the audience on the edge of their seats, waiting to see what Akira would do next. Chapter 101 Tetsu vs. Bakugo. At this moment, he refused to give in. Damn it! My quirk is supposed to be like steel. Tetsu clenched his fists, gritting his teeth. He was known for his durability, for his ability to take hits and keep going. But after taking just one punch from Akira, he wasn't sure if Akira was even hurt while his own bones felt like they were about to shatter. For the first time, fear crept into his mind. He had two choices, admit defeat or keep fighting. He hesitated for a few seconds before shaking his head. No, he couldn't just give up. He represented Class B, and there was no way he would let himself become a laughingstock by surrendering after just one punch. That determination reignited his fighting spirit. With a loud crack, he activated his quirk again, his entire body turning silver, his skin hardening like steel. Ah! Tetsu let out a battle cry and charged forward, swinging his fist with everything he had. Akira, however, didn't even bother dodging. To him, Tetsu's movements were too slow. Crack! Akira caught Tetsu's punch effortlessly. You already know it, don't you? Akira said, gripping Tetsu's hardened fist tightly. Your chances of winning against me are 0. Then, with a single motion, Akira lifted him and threw him across the arena. Boom! Tetsu crashed into the ground, the impact sending cracks through the arena floor. The crowd gasped. Akira calmly stepped toward him. His footsteps echoed through the stadium. You have two choices, he said, his voice steady. Surrender now, or I'll beat you until you do. Tetsu coughed, struggling to his feet. His entire body ached, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. I won't say those pathetic words, he muttered, forcing himself to stand. If I lose, I'll lose with dignity. Akira tilted his head slightly. He wasn't surprised. Asterisk clap. Clap, asterisk. He casually clapped his hands together. I respect that, he said. But don't expect me to go easy on you. Tetsu clenched his jaw. I don't need your pity. Akira shrugged. Oh, don't get me wrong, I wasn't planning on giving any. Tetsu roared, activating his quirk once more, his entire body turning into reinforced steel. He charged again. Akira sighed, all right. Playtime's over. The moment Tetsu got close. Boom! Akira's punch connected before Tetsu could even react. He was sent flying, tumbling across the ground before barely managing to stand again. Not done yet. But Akira was already in the air, descending like a meteor. With a powerful kick. Boom, asterisk. Tetsu was sent crashing into the arena wall. The entire stadium fell silent. For a moment, nobody spoke. The sheer force of that final blow left everyone stunned. Then. Asterisk amazing. The match is over in an instant, asterisk. President Nick's excited voice broke the silence, and the audience erupted into cheers. Tetsu is out of bounds. Kitagawa Akira advances to the second round, asterisk midnight announced. The stadium shook with applause. Incredible! President Mike exclaimed. The first to advance in the final stage is none other than Kitagawa Akira from Class L. In the stands, Class B students looked on in shock. I didn't expect. Tetsu didn't even stand a chance. Yeah. I thought his quirk would let him hold his ground, but Akira didn't even use his quirk to beat him. He's way too strong. The gap between Class A and Class B is just unfair. A soft voice interrupted. You're wrong. Everyone turned to see Kendo, Class B's leader, speaking with a serious expression. It's not about the gap between Class A and Class B, she said. The real gap is between *him and everyone else in Class A. She clenched her fists. That guy, he's a monster. The atmosphere grew tense. Kendo then turned to Monoma. Be careful. Your opponent is from Class A too. Monoma smirked. Relax, I already fought Bakugo in the cavalry battle. Without Kitagawa Akira's help, Bakugo would've lost. He chuckled. If anything, Class A should be worried about me. But despite his confidence, everyone else in Class B wasn't so sure. Because after what they just saw, they all realized something. Kitagawa Akira wasn't just another strong opponent. He was in a league of his own. Chapter 102, Come to my office. When everyone heard this, they glanced at Mononoma Nito. Now that you say it, don't get beaten down when you go on stage. You won't want to be embarrassed, a Class B student joked. Who are you looking down on? I'll just use my quirks to copy his. I don't know who will lose and who will win, Mononoma Nito retorted. Kendo Kazuka gave him an exasperated look before speaking in a deep voice. Bakugo Katsuki is not as strong as Akira. That's for sure. But even if he isn't as strong as Akira, it doesn't mean his strength is weak. Don't be too confident, or you might end up getting surprised, Kendo added, her tone cautious. Mononoma Nito smiled and explained, you only saw Bakugo Katsuki getting bullied when he teamed up with Akira. But when Bakugo was on his own, I managed to snatch his lifeline. Really? Kendo Kazuka responded. You might have gotten lucky and taken points from him, but this time it's a LVI, not a team battle. Mononoma Nito shrugged. How can it be just luck? I won it by strength. Okay. In short, just one sentence, don't be careless, Kendo Kazuka said, rolling her eyes as she muttered to herself. The sports festival wasn't just attended by students, but also by many professional heroes. Their purpose was simple: to spot students they'd like to have as assistants. You guys can forget about having Akira as your assistant. You'll need to get past All Might's 10 meters first. After all, he's All Might's apprentice, one professional hero joked. Just give up, another retorted. You're not even close. I was just kidding. I've always been a fan of All Might. Not long ago, we worked together to catch a wanted criminal. Another hero said with a smile. Ha! Why not join forces? You can't beat me, and then All Might will come to save you, another professional hero added. Laughing. Enough nonsense, another hero said firmly. Meanwhile, Akira, after winning his battle, didn't return to his class stands but instead headed toward the lounge. The reason was simple: he found the next battle uninteresting, but the one after that promised to be more entertaining. Bakugo versus Mononoma Nito. Akira muttered, sighing. What kind of luck does Bakugo have? He really hit the jackpot. Seems like it's a blessing he's accumulated from his previous life. However, to his surprise, Akira saw Endeavor waiting near the passage that led to the lounge. Akira pretended not to notice and walked straight toward the lounge. Akira? Suddenly, Endeavor spoke up. Akira stopped and turned around. Is something wrong, Mr. Endeavor? Akira's expression remained calm, showing none of the unease that others might feel when talking to Endeavor. Ha ha! Endeavor sneered. As expected of All Might's apprentice, your performance really surprised me. Mr. Endeavor is joking. How could my skills be considered serious on such a stage? Akira said calmly. If I remember correctly, All Might doesn't have an office. How about you? Are you interested in working in my office in the future? You and Shoto Todoroki are classmates, so you'd have a companion. Endeavor got straight to the point. An office? Akira smiled slightly. Thank you for the offer, but I have my own plans for my future. You don't need to answer me so quickly. Aren't you and Shoto Todoroki going to Country M as exchange students? It won't be too late for you to decide after you come back, Endeavor said slowly. Akira paused for a moment before responding, all right. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now. Endeavor nodded, and Akira turned to walk toward the lounge. Once Akira had disappeared from Endeavor's sight, Endeavor clenched his fist tightly. All Might, I will never allow such a thing to happen. Clearly, Endeavor was referring to surpassing All Might and ensuring his son didn't overshadow All Might's apprentice. Little did Endeavor know, though, that in the future, being the second best would become something to be proud of. Chapter 103 Explosion vs. Explosion. Da-da-da. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor. Click! The door to the lounge swung open, revealing Yaoyorozu Momo, panting slightly. Bakugo's match is about to start. Won't you go watch? Momo asked, her breath still a bit erratic from running. Akira blinked, his eyes still half closed as he processed her words. No way, so soon, he muttered, surprised. It hadn't even been half an hour since his match had ended, and now they were already heading into the third match. The second match didn't have anyone from our class, so I didn't really pay attention, but those fighters were impressive. They finished their battle in just a few minutes, Momo explained, sensing his disbelief. Akira nodded, stretching as he stood up lazily. It doesn't matter much. Bakugo can't miss this one. Momo rolled her eyes at him, knowing exactly what was on his mind. She wouldn't have come to remind him otherwise. Then let's go, she said, sighing. The stadium. The middle ring had collapsed during the second fight, but it had been quickly repaired in time for the next battle. As the beacons flared up from the four corners of the arena, President Mick's voice boomed across the stadium. Everyone, thank you for your patience. The next competitors are Bakugo Katsuki from Class A and Monoma Nito from Class B. The audience erupted in cheers as Bakugo and Monoma made their way to the ring. Bakugo walked with his usual cocky swagger, hands stuffed into his pockets, eyes narrowed with disdain at Monoma. It seems like we're destined to meet again, huh? A Class A guy, Monoma called out with a smirk, breaking the silence. Looks that way, Bakugo responded, his grin feral. And I'm not gonna make it easy for you. Is that so? This time it's IV1, and your teammates can't bail you out, Monoma retorted, his tone brimming with confidence. Monoma, always cautious, had copied his squad leader's quirk big fist before the match began, ready for any surprises. Bakugo barely acknowledged Monoma's words, scoffing as he looked him over. You have no real skills other than talking. Huh? Monoma's grin only widened. That's a weird compliment coming from you, Bakugo. With that, the two of them lunged at each other. The battle. Monoma sprang into action first, rushing at Bakugo. When he was within range, he leapt high into the air, his right arm swelling rapidly to enormous proportions, ready to deliver a devastating blow. In an instant, the colossal fist descended, aiming straight for Bakugo. But Bakugo, ever alert, dodged it with ease, jumping back just in time. The fist slammed into the ground with a deafening boom. The shockwave cracked the cement beneath the ring. Without wasting a beat, Bakugo retaliated. His palm crackled with black smoke as he activated his quirk. Take this, he roared, unleashing an explosive barrage aimed at Monoma. Monoma dodged nimbly, but as soon as he did, he countered with a punch from the side. His enormous fist shot toward Bakugo, who narrowly managed to block it, but the impact sent him staggering back several steps. Monoma grinned at his success. His arm returned to its normal size, but his palms glowed faintly, still charged from Bakugo's attack. Haha, looks like this is going better than I expected, Monoma said, eyeing his glowing hands with pride. He had successfully copied Bakugo's quirk, a huge advantage in this battle. Bakugo, now back on his feet, sneered. You really think you can use my quirk against me, you fake? Monoma's grin faltered, but he wasn't deterred. You'll see, Bakugo. I've got your power now. Akira, watching from the sidelines with Momo, crossed his arms. Looks like things are heating up. Monoma's copying Bakugo's quirk. But that doesn't mean he's as dangerous. Momo glanced at him. Do you think Bakugo will win? Of course, Akira replied confidently. He's not going to let someone like Monoma take him down, especially with his own quirk in play. Back in the ring, Bakugo's temper flared. He had enough of Monoma's smugness. With a growl, he launched himself forward, moving faster than before. You're dead now, Bakugo shouted as he charged, ready to end this. Monoma barely had time to react before Bakugo leapt into the air, launching himself into an all-out attack. Durian Big Bang! The audience's reaction. The explosion shook the stadium, a massive burst of energy erupting from Bakugo's final attack. The crowd gasped in awe, watching the aftermath. Present Mick's voice rang out across the stadium again. And that's it. Bakugo Katsuki takes the win, advancing to the next round. The audience roared with excitement. Backstage. Meanwhile, Akira leaned back in his chair, relaxing. Another easy win for Bakugo, he mused, but a faint smile tugged at his lips. This battle's just getting started, though. Chapter 104 The difference between two classes. As soon as Bakugo finished speaking, a black vortex of smoke and sparks formed in midair. Monoma frowned, watching as Bakugo launched himself downward. As much as he hated to admit it, Bakugo was right. He could copy quirks, but that didn't mean he could replicate the skill and effort that came with mastering them. His best option was to dodge, but Bakugo was faster than expected. Just as Monoma was about to leap to the side, Bakugo's attack was already upon him. A golden explosion erupted across the arena, sending a shockwave through the stadium. Thick black smoke billowed outward, obscuring the battlefield. The entire audience gasped as the force of the blast caused a faint tremor in the stands. Sitting near the ring, Synopsis immediately sprang to his feet, his face darkening. What the hell? That move didn't look that extreme, so how did it cause this much damage? Without hesitation, he hurried toward the ring, trying to make out the situation through the thick smoke. You damn brat, are you trying to blow up the entire stage? He muttered. Then, through the haze, Bakugo raised his hand and released a burst of compressed air, dispersing the smoke in an instant. The audience fell silent for a moment before gasping in shock. Monoma lay sprawled in the center of a deep crater, unmoving. Synopsis rushed forward and checked on him before exhaling in relief. He's still breathing, he muttered. Then he turned and called out, Recovery girl. Get over here. Without sparing Monoma another glance, Bakugo shoved his hands into his pockets and walked off the stage. Midnight quickly regained her composure and announced, Monoma is unable to continue. Bakugo advances to the third round. The stadium erupted into cheers. Incredible. Bakugo from Class A takes another decisive victory. Present Mike shouted. Class A is dominating this tournament so far, asterisk. Akira leaned back in his seat, watching Bakugo leave the stage. A small smile played on his lips. I figured this would be the outcome, but I didn't expect Bakugo to end it so quickly, he mused. It wasn't just Bakugo. Everyone was growing. If he hadn't appeared in this world, things might have played out differently. Midoriya, for instance, had received 1-4 all months earlier than in the original timeline, and now he had far better control over it. But every change had its pros and cons. Bakugo's strength completely outclassed Monoma's, Todoroki remarked. Dragging the fight out would have been pointless. Akira smirked. That might be true for normal people, but with Bakugo's personality? That's not really his style. Todoroki glanced toward the arena. Then why did he end it so quickly? Because he's growing, Akira replied simply. Meanwhile, the atmosphere among Class B students was grim. We've won 2 matches and lost 2. One student muttered. At this rate, we're making a fool of ourselves. TCH, Monoma was too careless, another student grumbled. If he'd been a little more cautious, he might have won. Kendo crossed her arms, her expression serious. No, this is a good lesson. We needed to see the difference between Class A and Class B. Their confidence isn't just for show, they have the ability to back it up. Her words left the others in stunned silence. Akira glanced at the tournament bracket. The next match was Midoriya versus Todoroki. After that, the winner would face Bakugo. And whoever won that battle would stand against him in the final match. Chapter 105 Shoto vs. Akira. As the battles progressed, only a few truly mattered in Akira's eyes. The majority of competitors from other classes were just there to fill the ranks. Time flew by, and before long, the battle between Todoroki and Bakugo had reached its climax. Bakugo Katsuki is unable to continue. Shoto Todoroki advances to the next round. Midnight's announcement rang across the stadium. The audience erupted into cheers, celebrating another thrilling match. Bakugo lay at the edge of the ring, staring up at the sky, his eyes filled with frustration. He had been so close, just a little more, and he could have turned the tide. But there were no second chances in a real fight. Due to the severe damage to the arena, the next match will begin in 1 hour. President Mike informed the crowd. Despite their disappointment at the delay, the audience was still riding the high of Bakugo and Todoroki's battle. Even Endeavor, who had been watching intently, seemed taken aback by his son's growth. For the first time, he found himself acknowledging that U.A's education might not be as flawed as he once believed. Todoroki sat on a bench, catching his breath. His fight against Bakugo had been a grueling one. Across from him, Akira leaned against the wall, arms crossed. That match must have taken a toll on you, Akira said. Think you can recover in time? Todoroki exhaled and sat up straighter. I won't be at full strength, but I fought for this chance. I won't waste it. His tone was calm but determined. Both of them knew whoever won the previous fight earned the right to face Akira. Akira smirked. That's the spirit. Just don't push yourself too hard. We're leading for the US tonight, you don't want to be limping onto the plane. Todoroki let out a small chuckle at that. Akira glanced at Midoriya, who was still nursing his arms. As for that guy, he went all in again. If not for Recovery Girl, he might have to sit out our trip. At the mention of America, Todoroki's eyes flickered with something unreadable. He hesitated before speaking. I looked into it. The school we're attending, aside from being called Brave Academy, also has another name. Akira raised an eyebrow. Oh? What is it? Hell Academy. Akira shrugged. Makes sense. If you want to reach the top, you have to be willing to go through hell to get there. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Akira had the strange feeling that Todoroki knew something more. What do you know? Akira asked, narrowing his eyes. Todoroki quickly looked away, giving a faint smile. Asterisk nothing. Just something I read online, people calling it that because of how brutal the training is. Akira didn't push further. Instead, he gave a light nod. Well, focus on the match for now. Worry about that later. The match you've all been waiting for is finally here. A showdown between two of A's finest, Kitagawa Akira and Shoto Todoroki, present mixed voice boomed across the stadium. Both fighters entered the ring from opposite sides. This is it. The most anticipated battle of this year's sports festival, someone in the crowd shouted. Yeah. One is the apprentice of the number 1 hero, the other is the son of the number 2 hero. This is going to be insane, The excitement in the air was electric. Hey! Shouldn't you be resting, Bakugo? Kaminari called out in surprise. Everyone turned to see Bakugo standing beside them, his body wrapped in bandages. Yeah, Kakin, you should take it easy, Midoriya added. TCH. I don't need you worrying about me. Bakugo snapped. In his mind, he should have been the one standing in that ring. His loss to Todoroki still burned. Kaminari grinned. Still, you have to admit, this is the match of the tournament. Anyone who misses it is gonna regret it. Bakugo clicked his tongue. Shut up, idiot. You're distracting me. With that, all eyes turned back to the ring. The real fight was about to begin. Chapter 106. This is just beginning. At the center of the arena, Akira stood opposite Todoroki, his arms crossed as he observed his opponent. I remember the last time we fought was about a week ago, Akira said casually. Yeah, Todoroki replied, his voice steady. But after more than a week of training, I've grown a lot stronger. This time, I hope you'll take me seriously. Akira studied him for a moment before breaking into a smirk. Fine, fine. The recovery girl is here anyway. Even if you get seriously injured, it's not like it'll be permanent. Todoroki didn't respond, but his body tensed, ready to launch forward at the first opportunity. Start! Midnight's voice rang through the stadium. Todoroki dashed forward at full speed. Akira raised an eyebrow. Starting with close combat? Interesting choice. Without hesitation, he met Todoroki head-on. Their fists collided with a resounding impact, sending shockwaves rippling across the field. Bang. Bang! Bang! Blows were exchanged at lightning speed, neither side backing down. The sheer force of their battle stirred up a whirlwind of dust and debris around them. From the commentator's booth, present mixed voice boomed through the stadium. Incredible! The match just started, and they're already going all out with raw physical combat. But wait, it seems like neither of them is using their quirks yet? The audience watched in stunned silence. Todoroki, known for his overwhelming ice and fire powers, was willingly engaging in a pure fistfight against Akira. However, as the minutes passed, it became clear that he was struggling. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead, and his breathing grew heavy. Meanwhile, Akira remained composed, his stamina barely affected. At a nearby patrol station, a group of pro heroes was watching the live broadcast. No way, MT Lady muttered in disbelief. It's almost the finals, and they're still brawling like street fighters? They probably want to prove something, Kamui Wood speculated. But considering they've already fought multiple rounds today, their physical strength must be wearing down. If this keeps up, the final match might not be as exciting. MT Lady scoffed. Well, whatever. At least we've got our eye on a few promising candidates. Back in the stands, the audience's patience was wearing thin. What the hell are they doing? Just throwing punches at each other, someone yelled. A nearby pro hero turned around, his expression stern. Physical combat is an essential skill for any pro hero. If you don't understand that, maybe you should pay closer attention. The heckler grumbled under his breath but didn't argue further. Meanwhile, in the Class B section, the students were growing restless. This is it? I thought this was supposed to be the most exciting match of the festival, one of them muttered. Yeah, another agreed. What happened to the big flashy moves? Kendo, however, simply smirked. Be patient. This is just the beginning. Inside the ring, Akira finally spoke up. Are we going to keep this up, or are you ready to use your quirk? Todoroki hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, it's time. A cold mist spread across the arena as he activated his ice. With a powerful stomp, a surge of freezing air exploded from his body. In an instant, massive ice spikes shot up from the ground, encasing the entire battlefield in a frozen prison. The stadium fell silent. Then, is it over already? Someone in the audience whispered. He froze the entire arena in seconds. Todoroki's power is insane. But the referee hasn't called the match yet. There's no need to. Akira is trapped under all that ice. He's done! In the Class B section, jaws dropped in shock. Whoa, it's really over? This guy's quirk is on a completely different level. Kendo, however, kept her smirk. No, she murmured. This is just the start. Chapter 107, The Collision of Ice, Fire, and Sand. After hearing Kendo's words, the surrounding students couldn't help but turn to her in confusion. Monitor? What are you talking about? Yeah, haven't you been watching the same match? It looks like it's about to end, but you're saying it's just begun? Kendo rolled her eyes at them and sighed. According to the usual flow, this match should be nearing its conclusion, but their real battle has only just started. Just started. As everyone processed her words, their eyes shifted back to the arena. That's right, Kendo said in a deep voice. The real showdown between Class A students has only just begun. Meanwhile, President Mick's voice echoed throughout the stadium. Is this the end? Did Shoto Todoroki just unleash his power and defeat Kitagawa Akira in one blow? Asterisk. Just as his voice fell, a sharp cracking sound came from the frozen battlefield. The audience gasped. The ice covering the arena began to fracture, forming more and more cracks at an accelerating pace. Then, with a final snap. Boom! A surge of sand burst out from the ice, sending shards flying in every direction. Professional heroes in the front row quickly moved to shield the audience from the sharp debris. And then, an even more shocking sight appeared. A floating mass of sand condensed in midair, taking shape piece by piece. Gradually, it formed a colossal sand giant with distinct arms and legs. Standing atop the giant's forehead was none other than Akira. What the hell? This can't be real. A giant? He actually created a giant? Oh my god, this guy is a total monster. The stadium erupted in chaos, with spectators shouting in disbelief. Kendo smirked. See? I told you, now the real fight begins. Watching the live broadcast, MT Lady's jaw dropped. Unbelievable. Just a moment ago, he looked like he was about to collapse, and now he's turned the whole fight around. Of course. The pro hero Kamui Woods folded his arms. All Might wouldn't take just anyone as a disciple. He must have seen immense potential in Kitagawa Akira. MT Lady's eyes lit up. Hey, what if we recruit him into our agency? Kamui Woods scoffed. You think it's that easy? Even if we offer the best conditions, the chances of getting him are close to 0. Every top agency is going to fight over him. Ugh, you're probably right. MT Lady pouted. Back in the arena, President Mick's voice carried over the roaring crowd. Amazing! Kitagawa Akira has broken free from the ice and created a massive sand giant with his quirk. The spectators cheered wildly, excitement surging through the stadium. Standing atop his sand titan, Akira crossed his arms. Shoto Todoroki, are you ready? I'm coming. Todoroki's eyes burned with determination. Bring it on! At his command, the sand giant reached toward the ground. In an instant, grains of sand coalesced, forming a massive warhammer. With a thunderous roar, the giant swung the hammer downward. Boom! The ground trembled violently as half of the arena was obliterated in a single strike. Near the judge's table, Synopsis, who was also serving as a referee, jumped to his feet in alarm. Should we stop the match? This is getting out of hand. Midnight frowned. Wait, I need to check with the principal. She quickly stepped aside and dialed Nisa's number. Before she could even speak, his voice came through. You're calling about the match, aren't you? Midnight didn't waste time. Sir, this is getting dangerous. If this continues, someone could actually die. Nisa chuckled. Let them continue. Midnight's eyes widened. But dash. Trust me, Nisa said. Kitagawa Akira may seem reckless, but he knows exactly what he's doing. Midnight sighed. Understood. Back in the arena, destruction was everywhere. The battlefield had been reduced to a wasteland of cracks and deep pits. Amidst the devastation, Todoroki stood with ragged breaths. One side of his body blazed with intense flames, while the other steamed from residual frost. The real battle had begun. Chapter 108 Sports Festival ends. Akira stood atop the giant's forehead, his sharp eyes locked onto Shoto Todoroki. It was clear that Todoroki had reached his limit. His breathing was ragged, steam rising from one side of his body while flames flickered weakly on the other. If the fight continued any further, he would not only push his body past its limits but also risk serious injury. Let's end it here, Akira said, his tone calm yet firm. That's enough for today. There will be plenty of chances in the future. As if responding to his words, the towering sand giant began to dissolve. The once compact and hardened sand loosened. And in the next instant, whoosh! The entire mass collapsed, cascading onto the arena in a great wave of golden grains. In mere moments, the battlefield had transformed into a desert-like landscape. This wasn't the result of another quirk activation, but rather Akira simply relinquishing control over the sand. Todoroki let out a small, self-deprecating laugh. I see. I still wasn't strong enough to make you go all out. Akira gave a small smile but didn't elaborate. You're both right and wrong. Todoroki frowned. What do you mean? Akira glanced at him but didn't immediately respond. He had made his point clear. Sparring and fighting against villains were two completely different things. In this match, he had chosen to fight fairly. He hadn't used hockey. He hadn't relied on the sand fruit's full elementalization. If this were a battle against villains, he wouldn't hold back. His attacks would be lethal, and he would use every advantage available to him. So, in that sense, Todoroki was right. Akira hadn't shown his full strength. But at the same time, he was wrong, because there was never a need to in the first place. Let's just say, there's no point in pushing this any further, Akira said at last. Besides, we're about to head to Country M. It'd be pointless to go there while injured. Todoroki's eyes widened slightly at that. That's right. His voice was barely above a whisper, as if something had just clicked in his mind. Without hesitation, he deactivated his quirk, the flames on his left side vanishing. Then, with a deep breath, he turned toward Midnight. I surrender. A collective gasp spread through the crowd. No one could believe it. Shoto Todoroki, the son of the number 2 pro hero, had surrendered? He hadn't been knocked unconscious. He hadn't been pushed out of bounds. He had simply given up. For several long seconds, the audience sat in stunned silence. Then, Midnight's voice rang out, breaking the tension. Shoto Todoroki has surrendered. Kitagawa Akira advances to the finals. The moment she finished speaking, the stadium erupted into thunderous cheers. Ah, man! Just when it was getting exciting, Todoroki just gives up like that? Kaminari groaned, pouting. Beside him, Bakugo shot him a glare. Are you an idiot? Did you not see his condition? His body was barely holding together. Even if he kept fighting, he wouldn't last another few minutes. Kaminari gave him a sheepish look but didn't argue. Either way, that's the end of it, Tokoemi commented, his arms crossed. Yeah, but we still have the final match left, Kaminari pointed out. Yaoyorozu shook her head. Honestly, to most people, this was the real final match. If nothing unexpected happens, Akira will be the champion? Bakugo scowled at that. TCH. What do you mean if nothing unexpected happens asterisk? Who the hell here is strong enough to be his opponent? Yaoyorozu gave him a knowing look. What I meant was, unless he asterisk decides to surrender, the championship is already his. Bakugo's expression twitched. Ha! Why didn't you just say that in the first place instead of making it sound so complicated? Yaoyorozu rolled her eyes. It wasn't complicated. Kaminari understood perfectly, didn't you? Kaminari nodded eagerly. Yeah, totally. Yaoyorozu smirked and gestured toward him. See? Bakugo's face turned red with frustration. He let out a sharp TCH before slumping back into his chair, looking as irritated as possible. Time flew by, and before they knew it, the sports festival had come to an end. It was now 5 in the afternoon. While the students were still discussing everything that had happened, Akira and his group had already packed their bags and arrived at the airport. They were set to depart for Country M. Before they boarded, All Might stood before them, his expression serious. When you land, a teacher will be there to pick you up, he explained. He's an old friend of the principal. He moved to Country M a few years ago to work as a teacher. Akira nodded. Understood, sensei. All Might crossed his arms. Listen carefully. Do not wander outside the school unless absolutely necessary. Country M is far more chaotic than here. Stay calm, avoid trouble, and in 1 month. He gave them a meaningful look. I want to see how much you've grown. Yes, sir. With that, they turned toward their plane, ready to embark on the next stage of their journey. Chapter 109 Academy of Brave. As long as you understand. With a smile, All Might looked at the 5 of them, his eyes filled with both pride and expectation. It was as if he could already see the warriors they would become upon their return. All right, it's getting late. You all should hurry inside. His gaze lingered on Midoriya for a moment, his concern evident. Among the 5, Midoriya was the only one with an unstable quirk, one that still carried severe side effects if overused. We'll be going then, Akira responded. All Might simply nodded, watching as they walked away. As their figures disappeared, he murmured to himself, these kids, their paths remind me of my own. Just like them, he had traveled to Country M after graduating, honing his abilities before returning as the hero he became. Akira and the others disembarked, stepping out into the bustling airport. Amidst the crowd, they spotted a tall, thin man holding a sign that read, "Welcome, UA representatives." Akira stepped forward. Are you Mr. Halma? The man glanced at the 5 of them before flashing a smile. 5 students, all first years from UA. You must be the ones I'm here for. Akira nodded. Kitagawa Akira, first year. Bakugo, first year. Shoto Todoroki, first year. Midoriya, first year. Tokoemi, first year. Halma waved a hand dismissively. No need to be so formal. From today onward, I'll be your instructor. We'll be in your care, Akira said politely. Halma chuckled. You won't need to worry too much. The next few weeks will be, let's just call it a paradise. Before we arrived, our principal mentioned something about the Academy of the Brave, but he didn't give us too many details, Akira said. Academy. That's fine. You'll understand soon enough. Halma motioned for them to follow. All right, it's getting late. Let's head to The group nodded and followed him out of the airport. The ride was quiet, each student gazing out the window, taking in the unfamiliar sights of Country M. After about half an hour, the two black cars they were riding in finally came to a stop. Stepping out, they were met with the sight of an enormous gate, one even larger than the entrance to UA. Akira studied the entrance before remarking, "Impressive, but I wonder how the facilities and training grounds compare." Halma laughed. "Sharp observation. The Academy of the Brave may have a grander gate, but in terms of size, UA has us beat." He gestured beyond the gate. "However, our training grounds are outdoors. And if we're talking about training space ***. A grin spread across his face. The facilities here could fit 100 UA campuses inside them. Bakugo scoffed. 100? Yeah, right. You messing with us? Halma stepped closer, patting Bakugo on the shoulder with an unsettling smile. I don't joke about things like this. Bakugo frowned. Something about that look sent a chill down his spine. All right, enough chit-chat, Halma said. Follow me. The other new students have already gathered. If we're late, he is going to punch me again. Without further explanation, he turned and led them forward. After walking for about 10 minutes, they arrived at a massive open field, packed with students. Hair colors and physical traits varied wildly. Some students had animal-like features, while others looked downright monstrous due to their quirks. Halma clapped his hands together. The Academy of the Brave recruits talented students from all over the world, handpicked by their own principals. But getting here is just step one. You mean we still have to pass a test? Bakugo asked. Of course, Halma replied. Take a look around. There are nearly 1,000 students here, but only 20 will make it through. Wait, what? Midoriya's eyes widened. 1,000 students, and only 20 pass? Akira muttered. Halma nodded. That's right. So do your best. He smirked. Or don't. Makes my job easier. Chapter 110. Don't disturb our leader. As Halma smiled, Akira remained silent. The fact that they still had to undergo an entrance exam was something the principal and All Might likely hadn't been aware of. If they had known, they would have told him in advance. I understand, Teacher Halma. We'll do our best, Akira said calmly. Good. Just line up with the others. I have other matters to attend to, Halma replied, giving them one last glance before turning away without waiting for a response. Watching him leave, Bakugo scowled. So we came all this way just to take another damn test? No one thought to mention that? My guess is that the principal and All Might didn't know, Todoroki said, his voice composed. Otherwise, they would have warned us beforehand, ***. Akira chuckled. Relax. Worst case scenario, we fail and turn this into a one-day trip to Country M. That comment lightened the mood a little, and even Bakugo scoffed. Like hell we're failing. At that moment, a platform slowly rose above the crowd, lifting a frail-looking man onto the stage. His sickly appearance made it seem like a strong breeze could knock him over, but his voice carried clearly to all nearly 1,000 people present. Welcome to the Academy of the Brave, he announced. I will be your examiner today. The test is simple, a battle royale. The last 20 standing will be accepted. The rest of you? You can go home. As soon as the words left his mouth, the crowd erupted into murmurs. A battle royale? That's insane. We have to fight against nearly 1,000 of the strongest students from around the world? This is brutal, the odds are terrible. Ugh, my teacher said that if I pass this, I'll gain insane combat power. Yeah, because they push you beyond your limits. But that comes with a price. Enough. The examiner's voice rang out, cutting through the noise like a blade. A heavy pressure spread through the field, making the crowd instinctively flinch. However, compared to Akira's Conqueror's hockey, the pressure was nothing. "Do not interrupt when I'm speaking," the examiner continued. "Otherwise, you will be eliminated immediately." His gaze swept over the crowd before he continued. "The battlefield is this entire venue. Your objective is simple: remain standing. The last 20 will advance. The only rule: no killing. Now, begin." Stillness. For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then, an explosion erupted in the center of the field, shattering the momentary. The battle had begun. "Fall back," Akira ordered. Without hesitation, the others followed him toward a corner of the battlefield. Unlike most of the students who were forced into fights immediately, their group conserved their energy. "Let's not engage yet," Akira said in a low voice. "We wait." Many others had the same idea, choosing to avoid direct combat for now. However, not everyone believed in restraint. A stocky, broad-shouldered student noticed their group retreating and sneered. "Look at these cowards," he taunted. "The Academy of the Brave isn't looking for weaklings who hide in the corner. If you're too scared to fight, you should have stayed home." Akira's gaze swept over the battlefield before settling on the arrogant brute. "Bakugo," he said calmly. The moment his name was called, Bakugo shot forward, a wild grin spreading across his face. Sparks crackled in his palm, thick black smoke rising into the air. "You just pissed off the wrong guy," Bakugo growled. "And you interrupted our leader." That's the end of this tale for now. We've caught up to the story. The author presumably has abandoned his work, but I haven't. As an author myself, I plan in the near future to finish all the abandoned works on the channel, including this one. Check out the other stories. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next series. Peace.